things are not what they seem. Things are other things. They represent other facts. We love to think of them as that which we are familiar about, but they are not. I want to just take this in no particular order. We're going to talk about this. I've got a fascinating evaluation of the Romney sister-in-law mysterious fall, suicide, accident. I don't know. It's unbelievably interesting, and we're going to follow that one because if they use any of the celerity, the alacrity, the attention to detail that they have exhibited so far regarding and then to Charlie Kirk, nothing will happen. Hey, we have the attention span of a gnat, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we're also going to be talking about the complexity, the beauty. Do you understand what is happening regarding the Middle East, what's happening regarding the president? Oh my God. This is, there's so many moving parts of this, but you would never know. You would never know if you watch American cable news because frankly, well, it's just the same. It's the same thing. They have no idea. They start off with the premise of what would you like us to do? You want us to trash Trump or love Trump? Whatever it is. Tell me the truth. I don't know about the truth. I'll give you pro-Trump, anti-Trump. What do you want? And then there are other people who are pro-America, anti-America, pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, anti-Palestine, whatever you want. They start off with the premise, give me the news. Nobody ever wants it in terms of sports. Nobody ever listens to a sports game and says, by the way, tell me the Yankees score, but only in the sense of pro-Yankees, when the Yankees are doing well. That doesn't work like that. But let me do a couple of things right now because this is so important for me. And there's no particular order. And if you don't listen to every aspect, every moment, if you don't listen to what I'm saying, you're missing everything right now. Because they are trying so hard to distract you with this low-hanging fruit stuff. Kamala Harris, this one said this one went on TV and said something stupid. Hey, look at this. Here's a woman with pink hair. Hey, here's a person who wants to marry an onion ring. Hey, that's not news. They're treating you like children. I don't do that. We don't do that. I'm not interested in that. You're better than that. You're smarter than that. I'm going to talk about these things about debates once and for all. Okay? I cannot believe sometimes I hear people talk about political debates because, the big debate's coming. Oh, my God, it's a big debate. Big debate's coming. Ooh, Thursday, October the 16th, the first general election mayoral debate. Hey, 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 Baba Reba. Yeah. And then there's the second leading contender debate on the 22nd of October. Yeah, yay. What do they mean? Well, they will say that, voter impressions matter. They will say that many undecided or less engaged voters will make up their minds based on the performance. Because the race is multi-party, a strong debate performance can shift the margins, and especially if one candidate stumbles. Right. You think that? You think that, don't you? Well, of course, contrast is key. Challengers will push on records and credibility and experience, and incumbents on frontrunners will try to frame themselves as stable and competent. And there's going to be a heavy focus on crime and housing and transit and cost of living and leadership style. And that's going to be. So tell me right now, what is going to be the result of this debate? Tell me. Nothing. Where have you been? Tell me you don't believe this. Tell me you have not learned this. Debates don't decide elections anymore. They decorate them. They're great for the insiders. Oh, I can talk about this. We're going to go right now live to a famed City Hall journalist reporter. What do you do? What's your take? Let's go to okay. And then, I thought it was an early, and they're going to talk about stuff, and voters are saying, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Hey, nothing like a great call to start off the show with a bang. By the way, today, by special dispensation for reasons we don't know, Mr. Riff Raff is back.
Riff Raff again.
Elias is here. We don't know why. We have schedules here that are just, I don't even understand them. Nobody does. Was it, hey, what are you doing here? Hey, who are you? I don't know. I was walking in front of the building and somebody came in and grabbed me. It says, do you want to screen? I said, what screening? There you are. I'm just saying. Always good to see you. You traitor, you Quisling, you Benedict Arnold, you absolute turncoat. When the going gets tough, Elias gets going. That's
Riff
right.
raff.
You can pay him off, buy him, no allegiance. Pfft, come on. Stop
I don't know an Elias.
And by the way, remember that. Remember, whoever gets him now, remember. Watch what he does. Watch what he does. Just like you always tell a young man, watch how she treats her family. That's how she treats you. Okay. By the way, it's also so great to see our good friend, Mr. Blaze, who is, sometimes he goes for 2-3 days without being able to do a drop. So you'll hear 1,000 of them at one time. And you'll wonder,
Blaze.
like right now, makes no sense, but it doesn't matter. Makes him feel good. And you know what?
Remember.
That's what we're all about. See?
You wanted this.
You wanted this. I don't know what that means. I don't know, but he's gonna do that. He's gonna do cars screeching. It makes him feel good. And you know
Lord
what?
have mercy.
That's right. At this point, middle of the night, over. Here we go. See? What does that have to do? I just started the show when we've got a car taking off. Not careening out of control, but taking off. This is like a Rorschach test. No. This is a thematic apperception test. This is a THE. Thematic apperception test is when you show somebody something and then you say, tell me what this picture denotes.
What is it?
See? What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know. But back to debates. Debates, I hate to tell people, don't decide anything. Again, they decorate. They're provided for people who make their living commenting on elections. It gives them something to talk about. Because if you really want to understand what makes people vote, you have to go for things that have nothing to do with polling and your, insider talk. It's what voters think. And this is media theater. It's not democracy. What was once considered, this was like the proving ground for ideas, has become this kind of like this pitiful stage for sound bites, and by the way, the indignation, the responses are all rehearsed. Viral clips meant to feed the content machine, hoping somebody says something, some moment, some gaffe, voters don't care about that. The only people who care about debates are the people who already live inside politics. People like us, commentators, consultants, journalists, the Twitter class, they treat every eyebrow raise like it's the Zapruder film. Like every moment, that's it. He was great. Well, I gave him a 7. Great, that's terrific. Why don't you take your roll, take your testing, and throw it away? And the voters, they've tuned out. They don't care. They've already made up their mind months ago. They don't, based on party, gut, personality, whatever it is. There's nobody's going to change their mind. I will change that a little bit towards the end because there are people changing their mind right now, and you know it, and I know it. And this may cause a great degree of consternation, but there's a lot of folks who are saying, hey, listen, I don't want Mom Dunny to win. And if Curtis can't win on his own, I'm going to vote for Cuomo and hope Curtis turns his votes over to Cuomo just because of numbers. And that's it. That I just explained it to you. There's really nothing to it other than that. It's not the end of the world. It's nothing. It's just very, very simple. It's that simple. There's really nothing to it. I mean, you could say whatever you want. You can talk to the same old people who think that we're naysayers. Yeah. You don't understand something. Many of us have been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for 37 years. I've heard everything in the world. Everything in the world. Oh, no matter what you say about anything. For example, say something about Israel, you're either anti-Semitic or you're some pro-AIPAC shill or something. It's one or the other. Or you're a conspiracy theorist. If you say something about Ukraine, you're either a Putin apologist, or a Russophobe, they're ready to go. Nobody will ever take what you're saying and really evaluate it. They won't say, okay, let me see what you're saying. Voters, though, nobody's sitting at home taking notes like it's a policy seminar. They're going through their phones, they're glancing up when somebody maybe says something outrageous. They're going back to TikTok. See, the networks and campaigns know this, and that's why debates are produced like reality TV, complete with dramatic intros and flashy graphics, and moderators. And by the way, moderators who, with all historically, I don't know who the moderators are now, so please, if I say something the wrong way, but historically, they have been the most boring people I've ever met. There are a couple of classics who, I swear to God, they couldn't lure me out of a burning building. one in particular, whenever I see this one person, I'm thinking, my God, we could reverse the rates of teen pregnancy by having this person describe the sex act. Nobody would do it. This person would make it sound so boring that people say, forget it. I don't want to do that. Thanks for warning me. No, let me explain this. No, that's okay. What debates really do is really, like I told you, give pundits a reason to justify their existence. Hey, look, I'm justified. See? You need me to analyze this. And the next morning you'll see the same ritual. Who won the night, who had the best line, what does this mean for the polls? It's an ecosystem built on pretending that a 90-minute televised argument can alter the trajectory of a city or a country regarding votes that are already set in stone, with a couple of minor adjustments. The only people who win the debates are the analysts and consultants, and anybody who sells, advertising time. That's it. So yeah, debates mean something, but only to the people who already think politics is the show. To everyone else, it's just noise. See, because American people don't understand this. We're listening to people who, I swear to God, they're living in the world of Reagan. They actually believe in things like left and right and conservative and this and that. Most people, do you know, like I said, I think it's the second or the third, might be the second most populous group of people in the city of New York are the undecideds, the unattached. They're just, most people have nothing to do. Like, what does it mean to be a Democratic New Yorker or a Republican? What is a Republican garbage like, or police? What does that mean? Now, lately it's meant a lot. I think we can kind of point to some things, but it doesn't, and they've never spent, either side, they've never spent any time trying to explain to people why these people are good or bad. Let me give an example. Take Mr. Mamdani, take him to another city, and they will laugh his ass out of it. They'll say, you get out of here. He wouldn't have a chance. Here he does, but not everywhere. So is it him? No, it's the audience. Let me say this again. You can take Curtis. You might even take Cuomo. I don't know. Whatever. Put him someplace else. In Portland, Oregon, Curtis is not going to win. In, I don't know, Dallas or Polk County, Florida, Grady Judd country, Lakeland, Florida. Oh, he'll own it. Same guy, different audience. Hey, so do you think that the audience means something? Yes. Can AOC win everywhere? Nope. Can she win some places? Big time. Ilhan Omar? Big time or no? It depends. Have I made this clear to you? I hope you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, are you saying that voter demographics pretty much determine the result? Yes. So you're saying, in essence, that it's almost that the candidates sometimes don't even matter. Correct. Why do people vote? They vote viscerally. We've been through this a million times. We've been through this a gazillion times. And there are sometimes people, as you know, and I love to hear them because they're so fraught. They're so imbued. They're so overwhelmed with the anxiety and the excitement and the anger of what's going on that they can't see straight. And they lose their minds and they lose their focus and they lose everything, which is the most important part. They lose everything. They get angry. They're name calling. And I understand this. So we're going to talk about that for a moment. Coming up, I want to talk about this very interesting case of the Romney sister-in-law and how I want you to watch this. And I want to ask you the questions you should be asking. Let me remind you, this is Lionel, and this is the other side of midnight. See, I always think there's always a reason for it. I always think, you know what? I don't. It's the way I am. Because I've been so hosed, my friend, so hosed and double-crossed and Pearl Harbored by people that you thought you knew, and they thought they loved you back. But no. They don't know how to do that. See, they get too big for their britches. And then when you build them up, you take it from obscurity. You polish them off like some piece of road pizza, and you burnish them and you make them nice and shiny. Then they leave you. They turn their back on you. And they say, no, I'm going elsewhere. Why? For the 30 pieces of silver. That's it. A sellout. I'm not mentioning any names. I'm just saying. money. They lie, they laugh in your face all the time. They want to take your place, the backstabbers. Now, my friends, a couple of things here. By the way, please follow me at Lionel Media on X. Are you doing this? X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. Tell me it's Twitter. Are you doing that? And on YouTube at Lionel Nation? And if you lose track of this, Lionel.news, Lionel.news. That's the website, Lionel.news. Mitt Romney's sister-in-law, Carrie Elizabeth Romney, age 64, was found dead in Valencia. This is the Santa Clarita area, near a parking garage. Now, I think we should know that it seems if he is Mitt's sister-in-law, and her name is Romney, it would seem to me that she might have been married to, or is still married to, a sibling of Mitt. I'm just saying. I don't know. Investigators say she may have jumped or fallen from a 5-story parking structure. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has listed her cause of death as deferred. That is pending further exams, including toxicology. Deferred. Deputies reportedly responded around 8:30 p.m. local time to a call at the garage. Local law enforcement's Homicide Bureau has said they do not currently believe foul play is involved. Based on preliminary investigation, do you believe ever, and I'm not saying that I know, I don't know anything. Do you believe anything the police ever tell you? Ever? I mean, do you just nod your head and say, well, there's no question about that? I'm thinking, okay, that's what they say. That's my line. That's what they say. That's what they're saying. And at this point, there's no publicly confirmed motive, no cause of death, other than deferred. No timeline for when the autopsy or toxicology results will be released. And nobody's pointing any fingers. Let me make sure we get this out of the way. Obviously, you know that. Remember also, my friends, I want you to put your true crime hat on. You're going to be a part of the team. You're going to be a part of the team. There's a couple of things you got to recognize. Number one, there are 4 different types of death, if you will. And think of the acronym NASH. N-A-S-H. Natural, accidental, suicide, or homicide. And homicide means at the hands of someone else, caused by someone else. The definition of homicide: caused by the actions or the behavior of another human being. In fact, remember that whenever you see the death certificate of somebody who has been executed, the cause of death is homicide. It means a death caused directly or indirectly by another person. It doesn't mean murder. Homicide is a broad term that covers both lawful and unlawful killings. You know, it includes murder, which could be manslaughter and all the things as well. But so remember this. It's very, very important that we understand our terms here. Natural. I think it's pretty soon. Natural is something that is caused, that is not the cause of or from some intervening variable other than what one could, because one can maybe argue whether death is natural, but for example, a pre-existing condition, some kind of pathology. Accidental. Whoops. So this case, obviously accidental, and you must think of homicide. Now, one could also say, if you really were, what if it was what if it was natural? What if somebody had a heart attack and then fell over a railing? Okay. Complicated. Good. Suicide, homicide. Natural, accidental, suicide or homicide. And actually, there's one more. Unexplained, unknown, Nashu, Gesundheit. Got it? That's it. Those are the only possibilities. Now, what's interesting when you look at this, I want to know, what does this mean? Here are some of the questions I want to know. Where exactly was she last seen? Where was she last seen alive? This helps map final hours or determine direction and motive. How was she to other people? What did her family say? Was she going through any type of stress, any type of particular problems, anything, any problem with her life at that time? Anything that we should know about? Anything which is critical? Anything which involves Something we should know. Very interesting to know. Did she have anybody else? Any particular problems? A domestic problems? A boyfriend? A stalker? Anything out of the ordinary? Why was she at that parking location there? Was she seeing someone? Was she driving by? Was she visiting a business? Did she ever go there? Was this out of the way? Was she carrying a phone, keys, anything else? See, a missing phone or keys can suggest foul play, theft. Was anything missing? Anything. Wallet, that sort of thing. Potential robbery. And by the way, a missing wallet can also be used sometimes to make it appear as though there is a robbery, when in fact it wasn't. Are there surveillance cameras around or in the garage? Video would show maybe whether somebody followed her, whether she fell, whether there was some kind of contact, foul play. And everything, as you know, for the most part, things are pretty much covered. What did the tox results show? Did they reveal drugs, alcohol, poisoning, something along those lines? Were there signs of struggle or trauma inconsistent with a fall? Bruising, defensive wounds, broken bones, anything not aligned with typical fall pattern. Also, you have to look at, this is also interesting too, you can also find out if somebody had deceased or was deceased prior to the actual cause of death. You can tell, for example, if somebody who was found in the water died prior to being thrown in because there's no water in the lungs. There's all types of things. Cortisol levels, struggle, bruising. You can also look at the eyes, petechial hemorrhaging, which is a sign of strangulation, some type of grasping around the throat, petechial hemorrhaging, causing the sclera, the portions of the eye to burst by virtue of the pressure caused. There's also different types, depending upon how long the body's been there. There's also rigor mortis, livor mortis, which is, of course, the lividity, whether a body's been moved. Algor mortis, not Al Gore, but algor mortis, which, interesting, he seems like he's dead sometimes, but this is the temperature of the body. Did she have a note, any type of indication of intention? Were there witnesses? Was there a call or message, or from whom just kind of before? Did she have adversaries, disputes, threats in her life? What's the time frame? When did she fall? When was she discovered? And were there signs she tried to call for help? And what? How was she? Did somebody come upon her? See her? Was her car even there? See, this is the stuff that's interesting. And why I find it interesting is that you were seeing none of this done in the Charlie Kirk case. Nothing. That case is so over and done with, it's not even funny. And somebody said the other day, well, I don't know what the big deal is. After all, the shooter said he did it. The shooter admitted it. And people are ready to just close shop. That's it. Move along. And here's why. For reasons I will never understand, dear friend, for reasons I will never understand, there are people who have this sense, this antipathy towards doing any kind of investigative work that may appear to be, quote, you ready for this? You know it. Anything that appears to be considered by anyone conspiratorial. Oh my God, do they hate that? They hate this conspiratorial. They hate it. Now, if you are a detective and you are being paid, if your job is to find out, can we clear this? You have to be very suspicious. That's all. That shouldn't be your game. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. So remember, do what I do, and we'll talk about the Israel situation later. Take everything that people are saying, take all vantage points, everybody's data, not just one. Remember, people whose jobs it is to close cases are doing everything in their power to say, well, nothing to see here, move along. You know how many cases are not ever investigated by a forensic pathologist? Do you know how many people, how many areas, how many jurisdictions in the country do not have a medical examiner? They may have an undertaker. They may have a quote, coroner, but a trained forensic pathologist who knows what to look for, who has looked at every conceivable form of death type of death, struggle, stabbings, of everything. The best that I think we had here for years is Michael Baden. He just was, absolutely fascinating. Fascinating. And he was the one who was the first one to bring up the case regarding Epstein. Let me tell you something. I want you to listen very carefully. This is why this is important. There is a momentum in this country, and I don't understand exactly how to say this, but there's a momentum, there's a group of people, there is a wave, a tsunami, a group of people who decide what is and what is not important. And when they think something is important, they will go out of their way to just say, we're on this. We are on this. But for the most part, we have been, and I mentioned this last night, or this yesterday morning, or whatever this, if this is night or it's the other side of midnight, but anyway, I said that whenever people want to shut you up, they don't just tell you you're wrong. They go for the motivation of why you're saying something. They will call you anti-Semitic, or Islamophobic or transphobic or un-American or conspiracy theorist, or they will go after the motivation. Not that you're right or wrong, but they'll say the reason why you're saying this is because of this. And that means you're right. Because if they can't tell you, that's just crazy, and they have to go to the motivation behind it, that means they have nothing. But people are so afraid of doing this. We have actually created an allergy for people. How many times have you heard people say this? They'll say, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to sound like and my favorite is, I'm not saying this is a conspiracy. And I want to stop and say, you're using the word wrong, incorrectly. A conspiracy is an agreement, a confederation between two or more guilty people to bring about something that is wrong. It doesn't mean crazy. So that notwithstanding. So what I'm saying is, I'm telling you right now, in this country of ours that is so into true crime, and we have Crime Con. We had Comic-Con this week at the Javits. It's very interesting. We had some folks from out of town visit, and they said, what are these people walking around? I said, well, it could be Comic-Con or it could be normal. If somebody's walking around with a severed head and a scythe, it could be another Tuesday. The funniest thing I ever heard was our friends from out of town. They were from the dark recesses of Florida, and they did not know necessarily as much as we do. They saw a number of Hasidic Orthodox Jews, with the hat and the payas and, the regalia. And they said, oh, look, Amish. And I said, no, close, sort of. So that's that. What do you think? And by the way, you can also weigh in regarding you can always do it, because this forum is always open. We don't have strict rules here regarding everybody excited about debates. And if you want to, especially, by the way, if you could, it's so good to see our good friend Elias here. He hasn't seen us in action lately. He doesn't know how good he had it. If you're one of these people who takes great offense over the fact that Curtis Lewa, no matter how great he is, and I think he's great, I've known him for over 30 years. I think he would be the best mayor ever. Were the numbers there? But if you think that we're being mean, or we're a bunch of naysayers, or we're being a bunch of Cassandras or whatever, I want to hear from you, especially if you get really angry. And do me a favor, when you call up and Elias answers the phone, yell at him. Just let him, because remember, understand who he is and what he walked away from. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to get into detail, but just let him have it. Welcome him back, because we're not going to see him tomorrow. So while he's here, exhaust him. Exhaust him with your irrelevance, with your bad phone and connection. Take a long time to get to the point. Welcome him back, because that's what this is all about. Because what are we doing right now? This is a mental hospital disguised as a radio show. And so far, we've been pretty effective in getting past that. Now let's go to somebody who might be talking about something completely in left field, but it doesn't matter, because this isn't a game. This is real life. Margaret in Westchester, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes,
I
Barbara.
hope you can help me. I'm so interested in politics, but I'm going through hell.
What's going on?
I want your advice.
Hmm?
I'm a victim of elder abuse by a millionaire. And I've been at this for so many months trying to get help. Nobody cares. I've been robbed of money at an armed robbery of the wife of a nephew, and I'm here in Westchester of sound mind.
First question I have for you
can't
is, first question, did you report this to the authorities?
I've been working, trying.
Okay.
I've got 2 police reports in Yonkers here.
Okay.
I've tried to get. My father was a retired detective
Okay,
from
just
New
a
York
second.
City.
Okay, I understand. But let me not. You have 2 police reports active, and make sure you never lose those case numbers, so that when you call up, you can always refer to them. Have you followed up or called the agency to find out if those cases had been assigned either to a detective or some type of an or investigative unit to deal with it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
And the thing is that nobody is interested in going after this person
Okay,
who
now
lives in
wait.
Stewart.
Wait. No names, please. Just remember, they're presumed innocent. I don't want to give out the wrong name and I'm not suggesting you're giving out the wrong name, but when you called them up and you said, what is the latest that is happening with my case? What do they tell you?
Nothing. You can't even get an answer.
Now, when you say you can't get an answer, have you called and talked to a supervisor?
I've tried. I'm in the process of trying to even call the commissioner. I've called police. I've called. It's a horror here in Yonkers.
Do I understand that? But what I'm saying is, when you have talked to, has anybody told you specifically either we are not going to pursue this or there is no case there? Has anybody told you that specifically?
No, they didn't say
Okay,
there's
good.
no case.
Good.
But they keep saying, "Where's the proof? Where's the proof?" They stole my money.
Okay.
They stole my mother's wedding ring, diamonds, and household pictures off
Okay.
the wall.
I want to tell you one more thing.
And it was an armed. Not Lionel. It was an armed robbery.
Somebody came in with a gun, held a gun on you or some type of weapon, placed you in fear, and
Yes.
took these items from you while they were pointing or threatening you with a weapon or a gun or a pistol or something or a knife.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
What they did is she said she was going to come from Florida to help me. I'm 94 years old, but I'm of
understand.
sound mind.
Do you have any family?
No. I have none that are close that can help me. I've been doing this all on my own.
Okay, one thing I can tell you is very important. Every time you make any phone call, I want you to make sure you have a document that says when you called and with whom you spoke. That's number one. Number 2.
I do that.
Good, excellent. Because they will always say, well, when did you call last? And with whom did you speak? Second of all, even though it hasn't been referred there, I would call your district attorney and speak to somebody and demand that you speak to somebody of authority, either a head of a division, an investigator, or someone. You need
We
to.
did that.
You
I
did that.
did that.
And they told you what?
That in other words, it's like too late to go after the gun, and that it didn't want to be bothered.
No, wait.
That's the whole thing.
Wait. Before you, there may be a valid reason. Do you have a private attorney? Do you have somebody who represents you?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not rich and famous
No.
like Brooke Astor.
No. I don't think you need that. I think if you pursue this, all you want to know is very simply this. Based upon the information that you've given, are you declining to prosecute? Are you saying there is no case here? Or do you need more information from me? Either way, I have to know. And I believe, and I'm going to say this, Margaret, and I think you know this, and I'm not suggesting that this is the case in this, because most agencies, I think, do a great job. But sometimes, if you meet the wrong people in the wrong circumstances, they will look at you and they say, oh, here we go. There's some 94-year-old talking about all her money was stolen. Okay, let's humor her. Again, I'm not saying that's happening here, but it might be better for you to have either a representative, some type of guardian ad litem, somebody who can stand with you, who puts on, put it this way, that is harder to ignore than a very nice and sweet 94-year-old lady from Westchester. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that, but the thing is this. I don't have Alzheimer's, dementia, or
I
senility.
do not believe you do. I think that is the best thing in your favor. Listen, I want you to do me a favor. Take what I've said into consideration. I want you to call us back and let us know and see if we can help you. But again, this is not a legal show, which is fine. Well, listen, you're a part of the family. We always want to help. But one of the things I found out is, number one, and I think Blaze will know this. What's the first thing you do when you're arrested? Let me talk to your supervisor. Talk to your supervisor. Give me a supervisor's name. Let me talk to someone. I talk to you. I want to know the status of this case. What did you do? Have the statute of limitations run? Is there no case? Let me tell you something. This is the hardest thing for a prosecutor sometimes to explain to people. You've got to have a good case. Not that something did not happen. Oh, it happens. But is it provable? You're going to find out two things, maybe three, on a separate note, and I want to bring this up to your attention. I want to remind you of this. The Comey case, the Tish James case, and the Luigi case. Luigi got to look into more. I'm worried about this Miranda warrant business in Altoona. But sometimes, to the lay public, things look really, really good, really, really strong, really, really powerful. And then you find out later, ooh, there's something about this that I did not know. So anyway, my best to you. Christine in Manhattan. Christine, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Thank you, Lionel. Great show. I agree with you about Curtis. And I believe that there are certain individuals whose name I will not mention who've done nothing but hammer him and hammer him. He can't win. He can't win. He can't win.
Why do you think people, Christine, why do you think people say that? Is there a possibility that he could not? Do you believe Curtis Lewa right now can win, that the numbers are there?
If they get rid of Cuomo, he can win.
You're telling me now, let me explain it. You're saying that right now, if there was no Cuomo, if somehow he just dropped out, if Cuomo said, I'm going to drop out and I'm going to, I guess, turn over my numbers to you. I don't know how that would. You're thinking that Curtis would win, right?
Yes.
And do you think there's any chance of Cuomo or anybody suggesting, let a Republican try his hand against Mamdani? You don't think that, do you?
But I didn't get your question.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to Angelina in Long Island. Angelina, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel.
Yes.
I love you, man. I love you.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I want to say about Happy Columbus Day.
It was a great day yesterday, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have Columbus Day. So
thank you very much for clarifying that. Many people were confused, and it was indeed yesterday. That is correct. Next point, please.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you for the that Donald Trump,
and thank you what?
For the hostages coming home.
Thanking me or thanking Donald Trump?
Thank you, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
All right.
Right. I just
now that
wanted
we cleared that up,
yeah.
okay. And finally?
Yeah. And now I want to go to, now you're talking about Mamdani.
Okay. Are we going to somehow, and please don't take this the wrong way, are we going to somehow invigorate the tone and the spirit of this call to lure people into waiting on for every with bated breath for every thought transposed and advanced? Are we close to that at all?
I love you. Yes. Okay. So now, when Montgomery wins, because obviously he's going to win.
Okay. And
now,
what?
The savior of this New York State is that we're going to have a Republican governor.
Right.
and the governor is going to stop Montgomery.
Okay, so you have Elise Stefanik, maybe perhaps, or somebody coming in, and that's good. All right, that's good. By the way, let me just say something, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I want you to be reinvigorated, and I want to wake you up, because that was a very nice lady. Thank you so very much. But that probably people are their head. I could see their heads on tables and on steering wheels, passed out with some type of drool emitting from their mouth in a kind of a comatose status. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Now, here's the bottom line. Do you understand how, and I don't want to say this, we are arguing the same point. We're not arguing, but about Curtis should drop out or Curtis should stay in. And the new one is that Cuomo should drop out. Cuomo. I don't think that's going to happen. See, I think a lot of people would say, listen, if the truth be known, I really like this Curtis a lot. He's the kind of guy I want. But you see, I don't want that other guy. And I don't want to be involved in some kind of a theoretical election. So that's what I want. I want to win, but I don't want him to win. And I think the best way for that is for Curtis to say, you know what, maybe not this time. I heard somebody tell me the other day that they thought it was selfish of Curtis. That Curtis, they said, you know he's not going to win. Why is he doing this? Why is he pursuing this? What is the purpose of this? Don't let this man win. And you know what? I'm not saying it's far-fetched. Because you got to understand something. I think, Curtis, you know, when you put your heart and soul in something, and you've done something repeatedly, and you're out there every single day, to walk away from something, it seems like capitulation and the like. But you know and I know the truth. You know and I know that sometimes, you know, when you're playing, sometimes that sacrifice fly, or sometimes you have to, when you're playing chess, you have to lose some pieces for the bigger gambit, for the tactic. Whether it's a Ruy Lopez or whether it's a Queen's Gambit or the Sicilian move. Sometimes you have to kind of swallow hard and lose, throw up, either as a decoy or as some kind of a diversion or as some type of a statistical realignment of numbers. You do know that, don't you? You do know that. I don't think people really understand how elections work. And I say that with all due respect. I don't think like people who are saying, oh, the debate. How did the debate? Somebody said, Cuomo can't win because, hell, he can't even win a debate with Mamdani. Who said he lost the debate? Is there anybody who said, I was going to vote for Cuomo, but not anymore? Why? Well, because he lost the debate. I'm voting for Mamdani now. Nobody thinks that. Seth, in a place called Richmond. Seth, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey there, Lionel. How you doing?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I just wanted to talk about Mamdani. I feel like the only reason he really took the cake in that debate was because of the whole Israel thing. And I feel like we should depart away from this fascination with Israel that America has.
Well, let me first of all, his question was the first, the one where he was definitely different than everybody else when they said something to the effect of, where would be the first country you would go to, which is very interesting. The first country you would go to, and I think he said, I would go to Israel. Everybody said that. And then he said, no, I'm going to stay here. That was certainly different. How critical that was, that's anybody's guess. Somebody who has the conviction and the determination and the gumption can stand up and, nah. He says, no. Another one I hate doing cartoons. Einstein at the chalkboard. A equals MC squared, crossed out. B equals MC squared, crossed out. C equals M, and he's just listening. I know somewhere there's a sense of loyalty. I just haven't seen it lately. But that's me. You know that roughly 1 in 4 New York voters about 1.2 million people are not registered with any political party. Did you know that? See, tell me the numbers. Don't tell me about who's right or wrong. They're called blanks in Board of Elections terminology. They aren't casual voters. They're politically alert, deeply cynical, sick of both extremes. They don't attend rallies. They don't post yard signs. But when they vote, they punish whoever looks ideological, sanctimonious, or soft on crime. You see, this block that we're talking about, that's the one that I want to go after. See, they're not apolitical. They're, I guess you could say, post-partisan realists. They care about safety on subways, cost of living, homelessness, public disorder, property taxes, small business, strangulation. They don't care about, performative politics and stupidity. They care about things that matter. I'm going to be talking about that. And these people, by the way, could very well be Cuomo's gold mine. Now, let me just say something right now. I'm not a huge fan of Andrew Cuomo, but this isn't about being a fan. This is about stopping a scourge, okay? And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a man by the name of Mamdani. More coming up in the next hour on the other side of midnight with Lionel. You got that? Don't forget, Lionel.news. Follow me. I may not know everything. I may not be able to know the answer. But I would venture to say, and this is not self-laudatory, that the way I tackle problems is better than a lot of people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's true. It's true. I want to tell you a couple of things I want you to think about before we get into this. First, there are these wonderful concepts. And the first one is called, have you heard of Occam's razor? This is William of Occam. This is from everybody always uses it incorrectly. They think it means pick the simplest answer. No. It means people think the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. But what it means is if you're looking at two different competing ideas, two things that are kind of happening, choose the one that makes the fewest assumptions. That's all it means. It doesn't mean pick the simpler. Sometimes simple is the wrong answer. But you don't want to have a lot of assumptions. If you're a doctor, and this is probably the best example. If you're a doctor and a patient comes in, he presents with cough and fever and congestion, the simplest answer might be a viral infection or cold or something along that. Not a tropical disease plus allergies and mold exposure. I was like, what? You're assuming all these things. I mean, that's possible, but that's not it. So that's Occam's razor. Pick something very, very simple. And in fact, it goes back to the old days of the old notion. Dr. Theodore Woodward, who was a medical professor in University of Maryland in the 40s, he's famous for this in medical school. When you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. So don't read into it. Okay, that's number one. There's also something which is very interesting, and this is one that nobody ever talks about, but I love this. It's called Hickham's dictum. It sounds dirty almost. And this one doctor, Dr. Duke University Hospital, Dr. John Hickam said, his line was, patients can have as many diseases as they damn well please. And the idea is that you kind of rebut Occam's razor in a way by reminding doctors that, not all symptoms have easy to fit little diagnoses. Sometimes a patient could actually have, for example, the flu and asthma and something else, conditions that together might explain the presentation better than something real simple. So what I'm saying is know when to get complicated, know when to assume, know what I do not know. I can tell you so many instances in my world, in the conspiratorium, where people will just blend. They will add all of these factors and things that they kind of want to be true. Okay? That's number one. Love complexity. Yesterday, when we were talking about, and I've got to do this very carefully because some people get very, very upset about this, but that's okay because that means you've hit a nerve, and that means that sometimes you call people out for not knowing what they're talking about. If you dare want to evaluate, if you dare want to analyze, if you dare want to break down what happened yesterday in Israel with the president and have you seen his 20-point plan? Have you seen it? Have you read through it? It's unbelievable. I saw it, and let me tell you what you can do. First, you go to the cable news groups. One group will say, it is nothing but a laudatory paean, an encomium, a song of praise to President Trump. Everything it's a song of praise. He is the greatest thing, he is the most wonderful, he is the most fantastic, he is a genius. See? That's one cable news source. Well, what happened? Doesn't matter what it is. He's a genius. Smooth sailing. Hostages are back. We're done. Mission accomplished. Get that Nobel Prize ready. He's the best. End of discussion. Well, what does the 20-point... I don't care about the 20-point plan. I don't care what the 20-point plan... All I know is he's a genius. He's the best. Okay, that's one group. And the reason for them to say that is because of the fact that they want you to continue listening to them because they think that's what you want to hear. Now, the other group are group people in the cable news world who are not necessarily historically fans of President Trump at all, in the least, and they're reluctantly saying, okay, all right, he did a good job. All right. But, we'll see. I don't know if this ceasefire is going to hold. They're trying something, but they're making at least the titular theoretical attempt at maybe pretending to pay lip service to his success, but they're really not doing a very good job. Okay, now, what I then did, and I heard both of these, then I went to others, and I said, if you want to find out really what's happening in this country, where should you go? Where do you think the best place to go would be? Well, probably the one that I found fascinating was Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera had the most fascinating. I learned more about this than you could ever imagine. Now, the best part is people are saying, wait a minute. They're looking at and they're saying, why are you listening to them? I say, well, the guests they had on were American professors. And I never even knew the complexity. Oh my God. Good luck with that one. I also listened to Jerusalem Post, Haaretz, Al Arabiya, Ynet, everything I can get my hand on, RT, anything international, and BBC, anything international. If you want to find out, listen to what they're saying. Their whole perspective is different. Because the next thing I want to tell you is if you really want to know what's going on, you got to have as many different sources as possible. You cannot listen to the same people. I know there are some people who never change, never move their channels away from one or perhaps maybe two cable news. That's it. Their only worldview is one cable news source. That's it. And they like it. And I'm not going to tell you not to do it. It's better to know at least something. But if you really want to get down to understand what's going on, you can't do that. You have to go sometimes to people that you don't necessarily agree with. Like, for example, the positioning. Did you see when the president said, hey, how about pardoning Bibi, huh? I think he referred to Bibi as the president, or I don't know if he knew. And that was fascinating. Did you see that one? Do you know what the world said about that? Nope. Of course not, because you weren't there. Does it matter? Of course it matters. Of course it matters. Now, I don't know how to tell you this. I don't know how to explain this to you. I can't convince you. But if you really want to know what's going on, you have to know what people are saying in that region. What are they saying? and get a smattering. You're not endorsing them. It's okay to hear somebody's, especially somebody that you can reject, but also you have to hear people who love Trump, hate Trump, like Bibi, hate Bibi, love Hamas, love Palestinian, and there are people who do. There are every conceivable aspect of motivation there is. Okay, you got that? Good. Now, same thing goes for what's going on in the election here. I'm telling you, my friends, that there is something which is so important. I told you that there is a group of people, the unaffiliated, about 1.2 to 1.5 million people, not registered with any political party in New York City. How about that? These are, as I said before, they're called the blanks. They're called in Board of Election terminology. And these aren't the usual voters. Those are the ones that I would be after 100%. 100%. I would absolutely, positively go after them right off the bat. These aren't people who are casual voters. These are people who are politically alert. I told you. And they're cynical. And the reason why they're not, think about this. Why don't you think they're associated with any particular political party? Because they're cynical and they're sick of both extremes. They don't attend rallies. They don't, wear signs, and they don't. But they're the ones that you could go for safety on subways. The opposite of Mamdani, they're the ones who will do it. And they once leaned Democrat, maybe out of habit, but they've drifted into the political wilderness because neither party today represents what they consider critical. And they're Cuomo's potential gold mine. They're skeptical of progressives, yet reluctant to go full MAGA in a deep blue city. Are you following this? And the move is very interesting. In general elections, these folks, these independents, make up about 15 to 25% of turnout, depending upon the year and the issue. They're volatile. They swung to Eric Adams in 2021 because he sounded, at least to them, pragmatic, ostensibly, and tough on crime. They abandoned de Blasio and progressive council members after the defund fiasco. They might embrace Cuomo if he looks repentant, competent, and unafraid to take on the left. The argument is that if Curtis Sliwa steps in, or if he stays in, I should say, those voters split. Half go to protest vote for him, half stay home. If Sliwa drops out, the argument is that they become Cuomo's firewall. The difference between 35% and 45% in a crowded field. Now, you may not like this, and because you don't like this, because you don't care for this, we've got to look at these people. By the way, they're not one group. You've got the outer borough ethnics. You've got blue-collar professionals, first-generation homeowners, younger entrepreneurs. And by the way, there's a brand new group of people out there completely, totally disillusioned with all this nonsense. So look, the bottom line is simply this, and here's the argument. And please don't get bent out of shape. This is politics. Politics is cold, brutal. It's about numbers. If Curtis stays in, he basically caps Cuomo's reach to these independents. That's the argument. If he exits, and if he endorses Cuomo, holds his nose and endorses Cuomo, that unaffiliated group, that voting bloc becomes decisive. New York City elections aren't decided by Twitter progressives or Park Slope activists or whatever you want to call these people. They're decided by the blank voters. Cynical, pragmatic, meat and potatoes, subway riding. They're the middle, who just want competence and safety back. This is the area. And this is how Cuomo has to gear his message. I'm telling you, no matter how angry you are about what he happened to the elderly in care homes and all that stuff, and his own personal life, his own personal behavior, let me tell you something. This is warfare. We live in a world right now where we have scandal after scandal after scandal. We are, believe it or not, almost immune to the notion of scandal. We're almost immunized to it. It doesn't grab us anymore. Okay, okay, fine. He was, okay. That's not going to do it. This isn't Victorian times. Again, you may not like it. It may make you angry, but that's reality. And this is Lionel, and this is the other side of midnight. See, you don't want to be too inside. I said, well, that's the whole point. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. By the way, congratulations. That made the most sense that time. It actually was apropos, as opposed to some irrelevant. But I'm just saying. A couple of things too. A great point was brought up. Do any of you gentlemen? Oh, what am I asking? Anyway, do any of you folks know where the position of the names are going to be on the ballot? I haven't looked at the sample ballot, but if let's assume arguendo, as opposed to that's for the sake of argument, as opposed to innuendo, which is an Italian suppository. But assuming arguendo that Curtis were to, let's say, drop out and whatever, is there any chance his name could still remain on the ballot and people would be confused and vote for him? What's that time limit? You've got to remember, you've got to understand the mechanics of this. There are some people who don't know. So we can talk about all this kind of stuff. Remember during the 2000 election, we had the Dimple Chad, the pregnant pause, all these Chads, which is a fine name, by the way, a fine name. But nonetheless, we had the butterfly ballot. And in was it Palm Beach County? They voted unanimously for Pat Buchanan. They didn't know it was the wrong. They thought they were hitting it. So believe it or not, in addition, I want to know about ballot position. And if anybody were to drop out, what's the deadline to print new ballots? And where is Cuomo on the list? Is he below? Is he at the top? How does this work? Because remember, look, I'm not saying people are stupid, but I know that's precisely what I'm saying. People are stupid and they won't know. They'll talk a good game. They'll shake their fist, but they won't know what the specifics are. Mike in Queens. Mike, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel. Mike. And Mike once. Mike twice.
Hello.
Mike, are you there? Mike's not there anymore. Let's go to Nick in Pennsylvania. Nick, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yes, Lionel. Your show's been a little bit disjointed with the callers, so I've been wanting to call in for a long time.
Excuse me, I've had maybe, I don't know, tonight, not that many callers. So what do you mean disjointed? What does that mean?
Well, you know, we've been jumping around on different subject matters.
Well, hey, but when you talk to somebody, let's say you haven't seen a friend, do you stick with one subject the whole time?
You're right. It would be boring otherwise.
So when you called up, what's the word? Busting my balls over this. Was there a reason for that, or was your attempt at humor?
No. I'm just saying.
Did you thought you'd break the ice that way?
Tonight, this is my opportunity. I should say early morning to call about this subject, and I want to talk about nostalgia.
And you start off right off the bat by saying, your calls have been disjointed.
Well, that's not your fault.
And here's the best part. Maybe
they want to talk about.
Here's the best part.
Horoscope or something.
You want to talk about nostalgia, and nobody's talking about nostalgia. We're talking about Israel, talking about the election. So the person who's the outlier, the one who's talking about something, is you.
It is. And I figured this is my opportunity because I'm not going to everybody else has been doing the same thing. So I just feel like part of the group, part of the party.
But they haven't been doing the same thing. We've been talking about the same subject. You're the one doing it on your own.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And God bless these people too, but they've been talking about, elder abuse and whatnot. So
well, I'll tell you what.
So
I found that interesting. You know what I don't find?
I did too. I felt very sorry for that.
I did.
I believe her situation.
Anyway is right. He opens up a number, 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. One of the dumbest things you can ever do whenever you call somebody is to start off. And I was a troll. I mean, I was a professional caller. Is to insult the person without even being, I don't know what the word is, kind of obvious. It's being too obvious, not being subtle. See, when I call, most people don't know this. or maybe you do know this. In 1980 or so, we had these local talk shows, and they were okay. And I kind of discovered them. We didn't, talk radio was kind of like regional. It was, tapioca recipes and just stuff. And how about that light on Elm and 15th Street, that kind of stuff. So I've always liked prank phone calls. Love them, love them, love them. But you really can't do them today because nobody will pick up the phone regarding a number they don't know. So anyway, I used to call up, and I thought, there's 3 things I'm going to do. Number 1, be the first caller, set the tone. Number 2, never talk about the subject. And number 3, if at all possible, insult the host family. And that's where I would go. And it will be great. And especially somebody on the weekend or somebody who did not know how to handle controversy. Somebody who was doing like one of these colon blow, these barter and trade things. Hi, I'm a doctor, a dermatologist or something, call me. And I thought to myself, and I love especially when people have shows regarding things that you have to describe. Yeah, I got this thing. I don't know how to explain it. It's red. Well, that's a dermatology show. We had one time. No, I got to say this. Well, I can't say this because I noticed you've been very quick on that dump button. I've never been dumped on my own show before. I was trying to explain a quick little story. Years ago, there was a man who did a plant show. His name was Gil Whitten. By the way, 30 past the hour. This guy was so important. His phone on a Saturday morning, he was there at 5 in the morning, it would start reading at 3. People wanted to talk about their plants. And he was a very nice man. This is in Florida. And I said, wait a minute. How do they describe a plant? Yeah, I got this plant. It's, I think it's called a rhoda. I don't know. My brother-in-law gave it to me. Brown leaves. Oh, that's a ficus. I said, now, how do you know that? It was the worst show. It was the worst, but they loved it. And one day, let me see if I can say this because Quick Draw McGraw here will bounce me. Somebody called up the other day, or one time on the hotline. It was the folks from down the hall in the FM. The youngsters called this 85-year-old man on the hotline. That's the hotline that the program director calls through when you're making a mistake or something's wrong or whatever it is. So he said, now, Gil, I understand you're pretty good at this. Well, I've been doing this a long time. Well, I got a flower I don't think you've ever heard of. Well, I don't know about that. No, I'm not a betting man, but I'll bet you a case of beer that there's no way you ever heard about this one. He says, all right. And he made reference to, and follow us on this, the part of the female pudenda that might be connected with excitatory stimulation. It was a part of it was a Seinfeld imitation. It rhymes with Levoris. Sort of. Incorrectly. So he said, you ever hear that, Glenn? You ever hear that, Glenn? Well, I don't. See, I told you, you told me, no, what color is it? Well, it's brown, and it was going on. So the program director is calling up, and the hotline's because of this. Those were the greatest days in the world. Now that was the one where everybody was in shock and horror. But to call up like this guy and say, you're all over the place, that's no good. That is no good at all. I told you one time I called the great Barry Gray. I told you one years ago. I think I was just in New York for the first time, and this was like the Barry Gray. And I never got to the question. I never answered the question. I never asked my question. Mr. Gray, yes, regarding an anent your prevarication as for the underlying, well, not the underlying, but the basic, the elemental, the abecedarian aspects concerning all of that with which, and I went on, and I never asked a question till I realized I think he's trolling me. He never said a word. I think he got up and left. Remember Bill Mazer? Do you ever remember the amazing Mazer? Do you know who he is? He was on, I don't know what he was. I loved him. Towards the end, everything was baseball to him. If I said, Bill, yeah, listen, you're not going to believe this, but Jesus Christ is here. What? I know. I can't believe it. Bill, can I let him in? Sure. Bill, but to remind you, it's JC, it's Jesus Christ. Okay, I got him. Bring him in. The first question he would say, did I ever tell you the time I saw Babe Ruth at Yankee Stadium? He's like, what? He would always talk about what? So here, you talk about going off the rails. One time he said, and he sounded nothing like this. I this morning went to my sliding glass door and there was a deer, and there was two of them. And I was wondering, were they lost? And then I don't know where it went. And I'm thinking, this is great. And I'm laughing, and then he was like saying, where am I going with this? He wanted to get back into the orbit. Here was the best major call ever. His son was Arnie. I think he was a producer. So anyway, it's what? Who is it, Arnie? Who? Tell him I can't. Take him. No, tell him I'm in the. Who is it? I'll call him back. And it was the greatest. Now, I'm the only one who finds this funny. I think so. That was a good call. But not like this other guy. Not this other guy. I also, one time, I love to call people. This is so important. I love to call people right after we would take the bar exam. For like maybe a week to 2 weeks after you've studied for the bar exam, you know everything there is about the law. I mean, every fertile octogenarian rule, springing interest rule in Shelley's case. You can do the rule against perpetuities backwards. I mean, you can, oh my God, for whom and why? And I would always try to find some legal show. Can I ask a question? Sure. If you were to devise in fee simple a deed, and it was for lives and being to take event, in the event that someone stop smoking via hammering and Sidway, but then before they would turn 21 and there would be no answer to it. That was a great call. But this one, I don't think so.
The worst part about that guy calling and what he's saying is he's basically saying, your calls up till now suck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to save your show. Because he goes, now it's my time to talk. Like, for some reason, he feels like we owe him to take his call and that we need him somehow to save the show because the callers before were horrible. And now he wants to talk about nostalgia. Everybody else was all over the place, but what he's bringing up, which is also has nothing to do with what we're talking about, is somehow more entertaining and interesting than the callers before him.
You know what's great is when you lose your mind like that. I love that. I like what all this.
But it's true.
But you work yourself into even Elias one time, like sometimes he came in the other day. Well, last time you were here before, the big split. And he said, he scares me. And I had to kind of calm him down. It was weird. He came in, you know when they put their back against the wall, like in those movies? He scares me. I like sometimes also when you're playing drums or you're mad and you'll hit the desk. It sounds like an explosion. Yeah, it's like, what? Oh my God, they're coming after us. Me, I don't get upset. I really don't get upset. It's okay. Nothing gets me upset. Hey, but I love to see this though. But that is and by the way, if he's smart, he realizes, I just not saved the show, but that's exactly what I wanted to do. And he never saw it coming. But you're right though. I'm going to talk about something. You're talking to all these people who talk about different subjects. Now, I'm going to disprove that by talking about something nobody else has talked about.
By the way, it's going to be interesting.
By the way, I'd like to send a shout out to a happy 75th birthday to my good friend, Scott Stanford. Used to work with him years ago at the PIC. 75 years old. Looks fantastic. I don't know how he does it. I'm hearing all kinds of some kind of treatment in Mexico. That's all I know. I don't know what it is. It's I don't know. It's a goldfish placenta. I'm not sure, but it's apparently a rejuvenating thing. Anyway, all the best. Happy 75. Many, many more to you, my friend. Let's go to Dean in Cape May. Dean, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yeah, I know what station I'm calling. What do you have to say? I'm on the other station with Lionel all the time. You're burning up 10 minutes of the show. We know what station we're calling. Don't you learn anything from Art Bell or any?
What
or
station
anybody?
are you calling?
It's not Morning Drive.
What station are you calling?
I'm calling WABC.
Wrong. Let's go to Melvin in the Bronx. Melvin, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
On the mayoral race in the city of New York, you have at least 7 names on that ballot. So if anybody
Name
drops
them.
out, if the name's still going to be on the ballot. Plus, you could do a write-in or you can write down none of the above.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is go up there and get a copy of a sample ballot and so forth, and you see what it's all about. And people definitely need to come out there and vote. You got all these naysayers don't even live in the city and so forth. Well, come over here and talk all this mess. But they wouldn't laugh. I go where they live at and do exactly over there what they're doing over here. They need to go handle their business in the municipality that they live in.
That is a fantastic point. Absolutely fantastic. Well thought. Absolutely clear. Wonderful. I'm looking at, let me see, I'm looking at, the sample ballot here. This is very interesting. Well, have you ever looked at the sample ballot? There's like 9 million names. There is 9 million names. And if you had to look for, let me see, mayor, if you had to look for, let me see, going down the road. You know what? Oh, here we go. I'm not going to read these all out, but I'm just reading right now let me see. 1, Zoran is Democrat and Working Families. Curtis is the Protect Animals and the Republican Party. The Protect Animals Party. The Protect Animals Party. I'm not laughing. And there's a whole bunch of, and also Andrew is the Fight and Deliver Party, according to this ballot. Now, let me ask you something, please, ladies and gentlemen. And Melvin is 100% correct. Melvin, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm right here.
I want everybody to take your advice, and it's an absolutely fantastic. Prepare, look it up, have a sample, maybe write it out ahead of time, practice it, so you don't go there and you're not overwhelmed. But you know, Melvin, how people are. Once they get into that booth, sometimes they say, "Oh my God!"
People have a responsibility to educate themselves.
Yes, sir.
Every time I look at the history of the United States and how laws were put in place to prevent my ancestors from learning how to read and write, but we were forced to go by and obey somebody else instead of thinking for ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's why I look to Frederick Douglass and I look at that war of 1861, 1865. It's still being fought today.
And I also think it's a very important point for people to recognize the fact of how critical is the vote. That's right. And how not only you and your forebears fought for that right, people should never take it for granted. Melvin, you're a good man. You know that, don't you, right?
Boy, it's all a part of life, and life is school.
What do you mean by that?
Networking and being positive and bringing something positive to the table. The door should be open for anybody who wants to be a mayor in the city. Your door is open for anybody to come there and put their issue on the table. Now, what you do with it was up to you. I remember that race with Diggs and Giuliani, how Giuliani was heading up that police demonstration.
Yes,
that walk. I remember that quite well. Yeah, all right. And as far as the president of the United States, he needs to get off that ego. Because every time I see him, I see the same mess being played out as played out previously among other administrations. All he's doing today is doing what happened during the Eisenhower administration. They had a project there, Operation Wetback. They went after all the illegal immigrants there until Immigration Act of 65, which followed the Voting Rights Act, which is very important, of 65. People need to sit down and open up a
Melvin,
book
let
and
me ask
read
you a
it.
question. What would you do to stem the tide of illegal immigration in this country?
Tell them to go fight to correct what's incorrect, where they are coming from. Like our man said, to brought here and changed.
Let me try
to
this
work
again.
for free.
Let me try this again. In order, you would fight the influx of illegals by doing what exactly? Telling them what?
All these folks will come here because my ancestors fought here.
Because
and
of
they
your...
piggyback on that instead of fighting to correct what's incorrect. Because Columbus never made it to the mainland. They started them islands and down there in South America first. And you study the history of this hemisphere. And those people living here, now they want to come here and piggyback because they refuse to correct what's incorrect where they coming from. They need to take their punk bodies back there and fight to correct it.
Melvin, I appreciate
That's why you got
your...
United Nations in here.
I appreciate... I'm sorry. I appreciate your clarity, your limpidity, and your pellucidity, and your, what to some people may be feigned and irregular anger for no particular reason. And I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Nico on Staten Island. Nico, you're on the other side of midnight with a Lionel.
Hey, brother. I'm just calling from Staten Italy. I just wanted to say real quick, I know you know a lot of patience, but I just want to tell you I've been through a lot of crap today. I've been fixing my whole yard from the storm with the Halloween decorations and all that stuff. But your calls and your humor, I've been going through some health problems and stuff, bro. Dude, you have made me laugh harder than I've laughed in in frickin' weeks. I'm telling you, bro, dude, if I wish you had a regular afternoon show, because
what is this? I'm going to be exhausted. This is tough enough. Nico, let me ask you a question. I appreciate that. Are you putting up? Did you say Halloween stuff on your yard or whatever?
Dude, my son and I decorate from the middle of August.
Oh my God!
I could off the air. I could send you my link to some of my pictures, but it looks like the haunted. People come through the neighborhood looking through that stuff, but the storm came through the other day, blew off everything. But we make a lot of our own stuff. We paint it, we build it, but I'm having some health issues too at the same time. But listening to you tonight, as I'm working through this, I mean it's freaking 3 a.m, and I'm still painting stuff and I'm listening to you, bro. You just make me so happy. You make
Nico,
me laugh.
you know
so
what?
much.
That's the nicest thing anybody could say. And I'll tell you another thing too is, I am convinced that this sounds weird, that if you can somehow find something to not laugh about because it's frivolous, but laugh about because you know what laughter is. And I don't want to get deep about this. But laughter is your appreciation for something that is absurd. Something it takes a really clever person to understand why something is funny. Everybody's got a different sense of humor. Some people like Three Stooges or slapstick, and that's fine. But I think sometimes
your humor is like my humor, dude. I grew up with people like you. I'm from Staten Italy, so I mean, your attitude, the way you talk, I'm dying here.
Well, Nico, I love you, and I hope you feel better, and I wish you much, much health. Please call me again, and anything we can do for you, please let us know. You're a good man, Nico.
I love you, brother. Take care of yourself.
All right, my friend. Thank you, sir. Is that beautiful or what? Let's go to Steve in Nassau County. Steve, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hello, Lionel.
Hello,
I'm glad you're hitting this topic about Curtis dropping out because I've been meaning to call the station. I think what a lot of people are doing is very hypocritical in that you hear very often people going, well, let the people decide. Let the people decide.
That misses the
now
point.
You tell, yeah, so, and I can really expand to a degree. I mean, in Nassau County, so I don't have any skin in the game. But as far as I know, there was no Republican primary. Is that correct? You know? I mean,
no, he was. Well, I don't know. I think he was it. I think he was the guy.
Right. So you don't give anybody a chance to, do anything. give me a choice. In Nassau County, it's the same. I'm in and out of the Republican Party and an independent most time. It's like, well, here's the candidate. Well, can I pick who I want out of the candidate? You only give them one choice. And the fact that Curtis is the only Republican and everybody else was a Democrat, why do you have the opposing team dropping out? If I could give you an analogy, I'm not a sports fan, but the Jets, I think, don't have a chance of winning anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you want to go this way, the Jets should really drop out because they might sack the quarterback and hurt a quarterback from a team that I like. So to avoid that, the Jets should drop out.
Wait a minute, you're saying the Jets should quit.
Right. Which you're telling Curtis to quit. I let the people decide.
Wait a minute, there you go.
Right,
I love this. People are going to decide. Let me see if I can work on this one. Steve, I like your take.
Sure.
The Jets should just quit. You should say, listen, this is almost like preseason. Don't go out there and bust your ass with a queen. You can hurt yourself, pull a groin muscle. This is preseason. Don't do it. You're saying they should say, you know what, we thought it over and listen, sorry season ticket holders, but we're gonna take a lot of knees. We're gonna throw the games because we don't want to get hurt. I mean, after all, It's only a game. You know, that's that commitment. I think Weeb Eubank would really. He's looking down and saying, "That's that baby." But in the case of voting, I am telling you right now, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people. My main goal, is not really to elect anybody. I will tell you this much: I can't think of anybody that I would want that would not be more qualified than Mamdani. I can't think of anybody. Serial killers, BTK, Martha Ray. I don't know. And the reason for it, by the way, it's not personal. I don't have anything. I don't get angry at these people. I understand what he is. For whatever reason, whoever's behind him, he's kind of like almost like from central casting. He's a sock puppet. He's a proxy. He's sitting here and he's acting as though he's actually in belief of a system that doesn't. You know, they ask him about, can you say anything good about the hostage release? Now think about this. Listen, hey, Zor, baby, can you say something positive about, you know what, that's good. And I hope there's peace in the... Great. Not him. No. Why? Because his script writers, his crypt keepers, the Edgar Bergens, his Charlie McCarthy, they're telling him, no, you're not going to say that. You're not going to say that. You can't. About that? No. When CNN says, way to go. When Hillary Clinton says, this is a good idea. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good for you. Thank you. On behalf of a grateful nation, thank you for your work. Thank you. But Zoran? Oh, no way. Did I tell you my Rod Stewart story? I think I told you this. This is the story as he told me. Might be complete nonsense. I don't know. Anyway, they were staying at like a Holiday Inn because they stayed away from, I think it was at Tampa or someplace, but they were somewhere like in Lakeland or somewhere away from the madding crowd, as it were. So they're at this little Holiday Inn and nobody thinks to go there. So they went to the bar. The bar was kind of closed, but there was a piano. So he asked the manager of the place, do you mind if I play? He goes, yeah, sure, there's nobody here. But they noticed in the corner there was a man and a woman sitting together, and they were talking in the corner away from everybody. So Rod Stewart, so my friend says, went to him and said, listen, you see those two? Yeah, they must be having an affair. He says, why? He says, well, look at their cars. Their cars are parked next to each other. And they're sitting in the corner, and there's nobody else here. He goes, wow, you're right. So he starts playing the piano. And all of a sudden, I don't know if there was a microphone or if he needed one, but Rod Stewart says, do you have any requests? And they stopped, and they looked up, and there's Rod Stewart. And they're like, oh, my God. So my friend later on says, why did you do this? And according to my friend, Rod Stewart supposedly said, they can't tell anybody. Which is a great, great story. That's like the old joke of there was a priest, Catholic priest, who was a time during Lent. He says, everybody can give up something for Lent. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give up golf. And the entire congregation gasps. Oh, my God. Father O'Shaughnessy giving up golf? No way. No way. He says, look, if I can do it, you can do it. So the father's driving home, and he goes by a driving range or a golf range. He says, you know what? Technically speaking, I guess it might be sundown. What the heck? Who cares? Nobody's watching. So he decides to tee up, and an angel flies over, sees what's going on, and goes to God and says, God, remember Father O'Shaughnessy? Oh, yeah, with the golf. He goes, yeah, look what he's doing. And God said, aha. He says, watch this. So O'Shaughnessy hits a ball, it hits a tree, hits another tree. A seagull swoops in, picks it up, flies over the hole, and drops it hole in one. No way this could ever happen. It's going up and down, screaming and yelling. The angel says, God, I don't want to tell you your business, but why did you do that? And God said, he can't tell anybody. Well, see, that's the story. Sometimes you can't tell anybody something. And what does this have to do with what we're talking about tonight? I have no earthly idea. Nothing. As our friend said who wanted to talk about nostalgia, sometimes we're just like that. But I want to hear you also call and get mad about Curtis Lee. Now, let me just go on the record. Let me just make sure you understand something. I wish to God there was a chance. I think he would be the best candidate, hands down, for mayor. And I'm not being gratuitous. I think he's the most honest. He's the most determined. He is the most focused. He is incredible. And I wish to God we lived in a city with rational people, where somebody is qualified and is good-natured and is devoted, who has given his life almost theoretically to this city, who has been through more in a lifetime than you would ever. The man is a modern-day Cape Crusader. The sad part is that memo apparently was not read by a lot of other people, and it kills me to say that. Hour number 3 coming up on the other side of midnight with Lionel. Stay tuned. And I want you to go to TMZ, and I want you to look it up for yourself. And I want you to follow it. And it was published yesterday. TMZ. Okay? So this is not an old story. Listen to the headline and follow this. Use your head. That's a very bad pun, which you'll hear about. Stabbed 20 times in back of neck and head. Officials reconfirm suicide. Did you hear what I just said? You hear what I said? Stabbed 20 times. 20 in the back of the head and neck. Do me a favor. Take your hand, put a pen in it, or imagine stabbing yourself 20 times. Ellen Greenberg's 2011 death is officially ruled a suicide again. The ruling coming after the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office dug back in for a second look at the case, in which a woman was found with multiple stab wounds in the back of her head and neck. Are you following this? I know this is radio, but you're thinking, did he say that? The ruling is sure to spark major controversy. Greenberg, a 27-year-old Philly teacher, was found dead by her fiancé in 2011. She'd been stabbed 20 times in the back of her neck and head with a knife protruding from her chest. Her death was initially ruled a homicide, but after a meeting with Philly PD, Assistant Medical Examiner Dr. Marlon Osborne determined she died by suicide. Fast forward. Fast forward to February 2025, under pressure from Greenberg's family, the medical examiner's office revisited the case and is maintaining the same manner of death. Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Lindsay Simon re-examined the case and, in a 32-page report released October the 10th, concluded, quote, while the distribution of injuries is admittedly unusual, the fact remains that Ellen would be capable of inflicting these injuries herself. Please go and look at this. Go to TMZ. Look at this diagram and ask yourself if this is even possible. The Philadelphia Inquirer reports Simon discovered 20 more bruises on Greenberg's body and 3 more perforations in the skin that hadn't been documented in the original autopsy, but still ruled her death a suicide. The decision is definitely stirring the pot again. People are asking the obvious: how does someone stab themselves over and over in the back and head and call it suicide? TMZ reached out to the medical examiner for an explanation on how they think Ellen could have done it herself. So far, no word back. Greenberg family attorney Joseph Podraza Jr. tells TMZ, quote, MEO Simon's so-called independent review of Ellen Greenberg's death is a deeply flawed attempt to justify a predetermined conclusion. It includes false claims, like the assertion that a stab wound in Ellen's spinal column was made during autopsy, a theory rejected by every credible expert, including the city's own neuropathologist. By ignoring key evidence that contradicts suicide, the extensive photogrammetry, a recreation which proves Ellen could not self-inflict all of the wounds, unexplained bruises, missing surveillance footage, an intact lock, accounts of a toxic relationship, etc., Simon builds a flimsy case on distorted portrayals of Ellen's mental health, propped up by cynical distortions of Ellen's managed anxiety, a condition widely experienced daily by over 40 million Americans. Shame on you, Simon. Mr. Pedraza continued, quote, this report is tripe, an embarrassment to the city, and an insult to Ellen and her family. Ellen's family just wanted the truth. It is clear the truth will not come from Philadelphia's law enforcement machinery. Though Ellen's city turned its back on her, we will continue through other avenues to get justice for her murder by any means necessary. You can also check the Philadelphia Inquirer, and there it is. Philadelphia stands by its own. It's just you have to see this. You have to see this to believe it. It's one of those things where, sometimes people will kind of joke about this. It's just incredible. So, and there are parts of me sometimes where I'm thinking, and maybe you feel the same way. I am going to defer to the fact that there must be something about this case that I don't understand. Maybe in the haste of my reading, or maybe somebody didn't understand the complexity of something which seemingly appeared to be murder. Maybe in fact it was not. In any respect, in any consideration, I ask you the following. This is something which is so incredible to me. I have this sense of justice. I think it's the wrong term. I've always believed it to be the wrong term. I like the word revenge. And I've never understood why revenge is a bad word. I know it's a dish best served cold. Ha, ha, ha. I've heard that a million times. I want there to be justice. I want there to be justice for that poor Ukrainian girl. That poor Ukrainian girl stabbed brutally by that animal. I want there to be justice for Charlie Kirk. I don't believe anything that I hear. I believe in justice for John Kennedy, for Bobby Kennedy. And justice for all of the people who have been murdered, hurt, lives destroyed, based upon a narrative that nobody in this country has the guts to pursue because it's not popular. Or because people don't want to be. Give you an example. We use the word conspiracy. I was mentioning something the other day. In fact, today, as a matter of fact, I said, do we really need to cancel? Did we have to cancel the parade? Or, who knows? I guess in retrospect, it's a wise thing to do. But I said, and I said something just almost in jest. I said, if I didn't know better, I think that Kathy Hochul had something to do with it. Because you don't want a bunch of Republican, Italian Americans marching. And I just said it in jest. And somebody responded, oh, are you suggesting a conspiracy? And I said, wait a minute, there you go again. A conspiracy means an agreement between two or more people, two or more guilty minds in order to bring about some particular nefarious effect. And what I said was, no, she could have done this on her own. You see, my friends, it goes back to this idea. Please stop saying conspiracy. Conspiracy has nothing to do with a crazy idea or something that is hidden. It doesn't have anything to do with it. What it has to do with is something which is even more important, and that is something which is done in front of your eyes. Right there. And you're being told to look the other way. And there's something which is also interesting. There is something which is, and I want you to think about this. And you must understand this about myself, about me. I shouldn't say myself, about me, because this is the way I am, and this is the way I always have been. You see, for the longest time, I used to think these right-wingers are kind of crazy. No, really. Sometimes they would talk about their flags and this, and it's always the end of civilization and blah, 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 blah. And I thought to myself, what is they're always talking about this? They're always afraid. Well, that was then. I'm saying everything like this in spades. Because let me tell you what is happening right now. This isn't about Mom Donnie. Let me ask you a question. What's your beef with Mom Donnie? Ma'am Danny? What's your beef? What is your problem with him? What? People say, he's a democratic socialist. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. We are seeing an end to what appears to be our American culture. We are seeing cities being deluged with Muslim Islamist factions who do not care to seek assimilation. And we're seeing it like no other group. Grand Rapids, you're looking at Minneapolis, and we're seeing a lot of people looking to Europe and seeing what's happening. Again, calls to prayer. Islamist, not Islamic, but Islamist, a perfusion. Dare I say an extravasation of a culture that does not want to complement or supplement ours. Oh, no. It wants to replace ours. And that is the issue that people will not discuss. And if you'd have told me 5 years ago, 10 years ago that I'd be saying this, I'd say, you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind if you think I'm going to say that, because my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are witnessing the unraveling of what used to be the shared American culture. And across Europe, across our country, from, as I said, Grand Rapids, Minneapolis, even parts of New York, we're seeing large immigrant communities arriving mysteriously with little interest in becoming part of the broader civic fabric. Assimilation used to be the expectation. Now it's considered offensive to even mention it. What are you going to do about it? What is Mr. Cuomo going to do about it? I know what Mr. Sliwa would say about it. Why isn't anybody talking about this? Don't give me this garbage about he's a democratic socialist. You don't even know what a democratic socialist is. Bernie Sanders is that? What is that? That goes back. That's almost like that Norwegian or that Netherlands kind of Scandinavian. It's watered down pablum. That's not what I'm worried about. See, the question isn't faith. It's called cultural cohesion. What are you going to do about it? You know, our country, this great land of ours, America works when people bring their traditions and embrace the Constitution. This is what I said the other day when my wife and I went to that wonderful, wonderful Columbus Day celebration. It was beautiful. It's wonderful. Proud Italian Americans assimilating, being a part of the American dream. Not wanting to replicate Palermo. My friends, I've got more to say about this. Let me remind you of something. Number one, this is Lionel. And number two, this is the other side of midnight. He's a kid. He's role playing. Smart guy. Knows his role very well. Part of a sock puppet ritual. Being fed the lines by somebody else. But what we're talking about is not the fact that people say, he's a democratic socialist. That's what your problem is? Well, sure, yeah. Well, what does that mean? Well, I don't know what it means. I just, I socialist. No. We're talking about something. We're talking about the fact that there's no assimilation. The question here right now isn't about faith. It's about cultural cohesion. Ladies and gentlemen, America works when people bring their traditions and embrace the Constitution, the language, civic values that make this country great. That's what we saw, my wife and I, at the. By the way, tomorrow night, Warrior Wednesday, the biggest radio show of the week. Anyway, this is what we saw with proud Italian Americans fighting for this country, representing this country, bringing their values and their food and their culture and everything, but never forgetting they're American. Let's go to Jay in a place called Hunterdon County, New Jersey. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, good evening. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Really happy to talk to you. Was thinking about Mamdani, and sorry if it's going to be a little bit of an explanation, but you know how I've been thinking a lot about culture, and if you look at Mamdani, he grew up. His mom is, I think, from India, part of India, which is Gujarat. He wants to have Modi and Netanyahu put in jail. Right? He has a certain very strong feelings about the culture and the government in India and Israel, and he wants to change our government. I was thinking, it seems like Islam, give it credit for whatever, however they have their culture and stuff. There seems to be a difficulty aligning with democracy. So the cultures and forms of government sometimes don't work well together, it seems. I was wondering what your thoughts were on this.
A couple of things. First, I don't know if he wants to have Modi arrested. I think he called him a war criminal in relation to these riots, and so I don't know about that. But I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Number one, it is not Islam; it is Islamism. It is almost a turbocharged, more, for lack of a better word, a turbocharged. I gotta be careful. A turbocharged form of Islam that do not want to listen. There's about 2 billion, 2.5 billion, whatever, who knows, Muslims in the world. There are many, the vast majority, as you know, who do in fact assimilate in this country, who are a part of who we are, who have no interest in changing. But there is a group, a very certain, definite group. That's a different story. you are right in the fact that they seem to be more politicized. They seem to be more, dare I say, radicalized. Remember when they used to have, we used to hear about the killer bees. Remember, they were Africanized. They were Africanized. Like, oh my God. But it's a different story. And all you have to do is just look around and you hear people and you see things. But here's the bottom line. There are people, Jay, who feel sometimes embarrassed when they bring up the fact that they want to talk about American values. They feel, I mean, look at Europe right now. Open borders, fragmented societies, parallel communities that don't communicate, don't assimilate, a generation growing up with no shared identity, living in a world almost as though they are deliberately outside of the realm. There's nothing participatory. There's nothing, it's so obvious. That's the cautionary tale. And look, and we can respect religion and heritage and difference and all that stuff, but not at the expense of the idea of America itself. And we're going to have to stand up and say things, Jay, that I think sometimes a couple of years ago might have sounded rather corny, that we have American values, that we have American ideas, that we have an American language. Religions can vary. That's what scares me more. Not. I'm sorry.
No, you're perfectly. I love what you're saying. What I'm thinking is that, like, if you look at the countries in the world that have a majority Muslim or Islamic, Saudi Arabia, the ones that work well or seem to be functional, the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, et cetera, they're all run with kings. If you look at countries that are somewhat less functional, even though some people would say, oh, Pakistan is functional, you look at the history of their voting systems and everything, it's a mess. And so the whole idea that, Islam and Muslim populations in a majority in a democratic situation just seems to not work very well.
Can we also...
Because they would have to confer upon the, democracy requires that women would have some participation in running the country.
Can we use the phrase?
Does not line up.
Can we use the phrase that anytime something either rivals or borders on a theocracy? That's what we're talking about. It's not so much. I don't care what it is. See, everything anything that involves participatory, republic, voting. I might have a lot of strong belief systems at 30 past the hour, by the way, based upon my sense of, religion. But when I want to replace that, replace representative government with certain, passages in a holy book or something, or to try to, and here's the thing, to replicate something which is completely and totally antithetical. The First Amendment, specifically the Establishment Clause, loathes and abhors and eschews the notion of having a system in which our government ratifies, endorses, or validates the existence of a religion. And I can think of nothing more Establishment Clause violative than the city of Grand Rapids basically becoming little whatever, Mogadishu or what have you. Yeah. And it's obvious. And the best part, Jay, is you're going to love this. Or maybe not. But I have a friend of mine who was the prototypical quintessential lefty. Oh my God, he sees everything. He lives in Minnesota. He says, I can't believe what I'm saying. What the hell is going on here? And I said, ooh, look at you. Look at you. So we have to stand up and stop this. We have to get the word out. Remember, and I'll give you this final example. There was a time, Jay, when everybody smoked. I mean, people smoked. And then one day, they all stopped. Do you ever see people smoking now? Very rare.
Yeah.
Most of your friends don't.
Change.
Yeah. And you know who did it? We did it. Not the government. Yeah, they raised taxes. Yeah, they told us about the fact. Yeah. We did it. So whenever we decide, hey, this isn't cool anymore, we decide. We don't do this. Just like with mask culture or tattoos or anything for that matter. We have to get the word out to American citizens that this is not some right-wing Fox News memorandum that we're talking about. We're talking about maintaining the integrity of that which is American. And whatever the particular force, whether it's theocracy, whether it's some kind of a weird kind of a sexual deviation, anything, secret societies, whatever you want to call it, anything that subverts and undermines the basic foundation of this country, we got to put a stop to it. Period. End of discussion.
So would you agree or disagree that Islam is more aligned with certain types of government than others? Would you agree with that?
Islamism, the political ideology, not the religion, but yes, Islamism. There are many folks who are practitioners of Islam. There are Muslims who say, I go to the to basically the to study my Quran or whatever.
Right.
I don't have a mosque. I have no idea it's going to the city council of Indian River, Florida, to somehow take over. That has nothing to do with what I'm doing. This is different.
A threshold. So basically, the theory is in India. This is a theory because India has been struggling with the whole Hindu versus Islam thing for years. I mean, it's funny how people don't realize like that struggle has been going on. India Pakistan is like the biggest rivalry in the world. And there's always been a saying that once the threshold it goes beyond 15%. There's a certain percentage,
right,
where when there's a majority of a certain religion, then all of a sudden things go a little bit left and or a little bit haywire, and that's what we're seeing in Dearborn. Where you hit a certain threshold, and then all of a sudden, the Sharia-ish stuff starts coming about.
Right, and there's also something I think. Interestingly enough, there is a momentum that is created by virtue of its own momentum. That if allowed, if you do not, this sounds weird, because I don't want to make any kind of. Remember, it's not Islam;
Correct.
it's Islamism.
Ism, yes, I appreciate what you're saying.
That's a whole other story. I mean, let's face it. If you want to look at Indonesia, that is the largest population. I don't know if there's a problem.
Ruled by a king. Right.
Well, yeah. What you're saying is the monarchy kind of dilutes the more nefarious aspects of pure Islamist rule or whatever. It's almost like
I think it's aligned. It's aligned because in Islamism, the notion that a female would run the country is something that's very hard to tolerate.
Absolutely. Hey Jay, I thank you, my friend. A most cogent, a most brilliant call. Thank you so much. Let's go to let's go to John on Staten Island. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Morning, Lionel. Long time no talk. It's been a while. So your conversation with Jay, a lot of great points, and that's what I'm worried about in New York City. If God forbid, Mamdani does get elected, like if Mamdani imposes Sharia law. Because let's face it, Mamdani is a Muslim. He's part of the Islamic religion, and also, to be fair, next year is the 25th anniversary of 9/11. Mm-hmm. Do you want a Muslim mayor running the city of New York during that time? No.
I can honestly say to you that I cannot exclude, nor would I want to exclude somebody merely because their religion happens to be Islam. Period. That's not it. It takes more than that. For example, remember years ago when we talked about this, when John Kennedy when he was running, and they talked about Al Smith, and they said, "Are you going to take your marching orders from the Vatican, or are you going to take it from the people? Are you going to?" And even then they worried about it. Because what happens is, it's not that somebody is a member of a particular faith. I mean, would you care that Dr. Oz or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Dave Chappelle were to run for office? They're Muslims, I believe. I could be incorrect. But I mean, does that really bother you per se? No, that's not the issue. It's a little bit differently. Lou on Long Island. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yes, Lionel. Good morning. I don't know if you picked up on the story. I just saw it a few moments ago. There was a father in Arkansas that his daughter was abducted, and he, was searching the neighborhood, and he saw his daughter in this man's car. He forced him off the road. He shot and killed him, and he's running for sheriff.
Well, it's interesting. His name is Aaron Spencer. He's a 37-year-old Arkansas resident, veteran, and a farmer.
Okay, you're up on the story. I thought it was breaking
let me
news.
give people the story. It was very interesting. In October of 2024, Spencer allegedly shot and killed 67-year-old Michael Fossler after finding him in a truck with Spencer's 14-year-old daughter. Fossler had previously...
I didn't know she was that young.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, hang on a second. Fossler's 14-year-old daughter. Fossler had previously faced charges, including internet stalking of a child, sexual assault, and sexual indecency with a child, allegations tied to Spencer's daughter. So Spencer is charged with second-degree murder and is awaiting trial, scheduled to start in January of 2026. And despite the murder charge, he announced a campaign for sheriff of Lonoke County, Arkansas. He says his motivation is that the system failed his family, and he wants to restore faith in law enforcement. So the question people ask is this vigilantism versus justice? Let me ask you, is this vigilantism? And if so, what does that mean?
Oh, it absolutely is, but I have no children, so I can't, emotionally comment. But
do you have to have children?
My daughter, I think. Excuse me?
Do you have to have children to not see immediately what a father would
Oh,
think?
no.
Yeah,
I
right.
think it's a gut reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gut reaction. You protect your family no matter what the consequences.
But what is
may
wrong
be
with
after that.
Let me ask you this. Vigilantism is defined as the extrajudicial enforcement of justice outside the formal legal system. It's when individuals decide that the justice system has failed or is too slow, so they will direct. By the way, lynching, believe it or not, lynching, the actual, people think of it sometimes normally in terms of strangulation or hanging, but lynching is the same thing. My question is simply this. Why must I, and this may really be problematic, but why must I ask for permission to exact justice against somebody who has taken it upon themselves to kidnap or to be with my daughter, when I, as a father, have a moral responsibility to protect my children?
Absolutely.
If it was a wild animal, let's say there was a wild animal that was about to pounce on your child or your wife or your friend, I don't think anybody would behoove you or prevent you from shooting them.
Lionel, that is an exceptional analogy. Yes, this man was a wild animal, and you put it perfectly. You protect your own to your own death.
I have absolutely,
well, like
yes.
I said, the consequences in the next second don't matter. What matters is at that second to protect anyone in your family or friend.
I absolutely agree. And there's something that bothers me about having to ask permission to react. Robert in Montreal, you're on the other side of midnight with me, Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel. I just want to remind you that I'm the guy who had someone by the name of Rizzo as a classmate at university, and he used to sing opera all night. And of course, now it's Columbus Day, and I always remember that.
Yes, sir.
But listen, the reason I'm calling is that in order to change what's happening, or at least to stop it and reverse it, it has to be mandated in Western countries, including the United States and Canada, Australia. Great Britain and France, for example, that in order to run for public office, you have to be a native-born citizen. So that would be an American in the United States, a Canadian in Canada, because here in Canada we've had it. I mean, in 9 years, Trudeau brought in 1 million Muslims, and we had 1 million Muslims when he came in, and now we have 2 million. We brought in 5 million immigrants, 1 million of whom were Muslim. That's 20% of the immigrants that came into Canada. And they're changing the political landscape of our country. And in order to stop it, we have to start there. And Turning Point America is a refreshing change, and perhaps that's the starting point. Maybe that it'll wind up in that area.
Well, you know, your Mr. Trudeau is now with what, Katy Perry? I think they're talking about that. I don't know if anybody cares about that or if that's even true. I don't believe anything that I see, especially when it's obviously put out there. You know, there is something. This is what I would love to do, Robert. And I know this is just a fantasy, and I speak just theoretically. I don't believe this is actually going to happen the way I see it, but I will say it nonetheless. If I were to say something to the effect of, all right, Trudeau, you have been arrested. We're going to ask you a question. Who gives you your marching orders? And he says, no. Well, the speaker says, no, one more time. We're going to apply a form of mild force to you. We have a court-ordered implementation of something brand new called torture. And we're going to get this out of you. Now tell me, who is it who gave you this idea? I know for a fact you didn't wake up one day and say, you know what I want to do? I want to flood my country with everybody from, The answer is they would say, who is responsible? Same thing with Ma'am Danny. Who is it that's actually telling you what to do? There are some things I kind of understand. I also want to find out. Look, I've got no problem with somebody standing up for the rights of gay people. I've got no problem with people suggesting or standing up for the notion of gay marriage. None. But who was it who decided we're going to infiltrate and contaminate and dilute sports, actual sports, with men? Who is responsible? Because I know they didn't come up with this on their own. I want to find out who these people are. Have you ever thought about that, Robert? Who are the people behind it?
Yes, that's an important point. But the fact of the matter is, it's the common denominator is political power. They see a demographic that can launch them into political power, and they're after their votes. That's why they do it. That's why Canada has changed its foreign policy. It used to be basically balanced in terms of the Middle East. Now they're definitely on the Islamic side.
It's very interesting that you say this, because what many people are suggesting is there is this idea that if you allow these people in, they will then show, they will be beholden to you. They will redirect their focus towards you. And they would do everything in their power to make sure that they thank you by voting your way. It doesn't work like that. Listen, I just want to say this again. And it may not mean anything to you, but it means something to me. There is a group of people out there, American citizens, who have never found themselves in the position ever of saying this before. We have never seen them ever saying anything like this. But America, we are losing it to people from parts of the world that have absolutely no desire or concern for what is American. Years ago in Florida, I tell you, we had these guys who would suggest we had a perfusion of Cubans. And right around 1980, 80 or so, we had the Marielitos from the Mariel Harbor. This is the Scarface crowd. And a lot of them were absolutely out of their tree. In 1959, 1960, right either at or near the rise of Castro, there was the brain drain. There was this exodus of intellectuals and poets and lawyers and doctors, and They all moved to Miami, and they were janitors and doctors, people who were, and by the way, in almost one generation, they turned out to be the most prosperous, the most, how do I say this? The most embedded and successful people you have ever seen. Now, at the time, in places like Hialeah, there was again, I keep saying this, this perfusion, this tsunami of Spanish people. I mean, you could go into a bank in Hialeah and it says, "We speak English." And people railed against that. But let me tell you about what these people did. They may have brought their cafecito and all that stuff with them, but they were Americans. Oh my God, were they Americans. And they believed and they hated communism, and they believed in this country, and they hated Castro, and they believed that this was the place, this is where they can bring, and they never, ever tried to replicate, Batista's Cuba or anything like that. They wanted to be part and parcel to be Americans. And they ran for office, and they became mayors, and they became city council, but not to take over, but to participate. All right? That was a fine thing. So anyway, so they came up with, I guess I still have it, this constitutional amendment to make English the official language. Because even then they said, we're losing this. We are losing this. Now, you and I know there's a point. I one time went into I think it was a CVS, and I looked up and they said, if you need how do I say this? If you need interpreters for the following languages, let us know. And I never knew there were I'm serious. I never knew there were that many languages on the planet. Okay, that's accommodation. That's okay. Then we talk about, what about bilingual ballots? Should we have ballots in Spanish and English? This was in Florida years ago. I thought to myself, do you really want there to be any kind of confusion as to who's who? They said, no, this is America. We speak English. Okay, they fought that. And I thought, well, that's kind of quaint in a way, but, they have a good point. That was child's play compared to this. This is different. This is different. Not only we're losing the language, but we're losing the culture. We don't have prayer services at 3 a.m. We don't have. Now, what happens? Who was it? Remember Katie? Oh, what is her name? Katie, you know who she is. She was that lady, that British lady on Twitter. She was banned for a long time. Katie, what's her name? Anyway, she said there was a mosque every 100 feet in London. And they sounded at the time, my God, they're so close-minded. Look at these Islamophobes. Now, look what we're saying. Joe in Huntington, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel.
Yes, sir.
You say that we're in a warfare. We actually are in a spiritual warfare.
Yep.
Okay? And I know who's giving Mondami his marching orders. You ever hear the song Sympathy for the Devil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mick Jagger's giving him the orders?
He's the LSD candidate. Liar, seducer, and deceiver.
How is he a seducer?
LSD candidate.
How is he a seducer?
What? Well, he seduces these young people to vote for him.
There's a lot of older people voting for him. A lot of people are older.
Right.
A lot of young people aren't voting at all.
Well, it talks about seducing spirits.
He talks about that?
Days. No, the Bible talks about.
Okay, forget the Bible. Let's talk about him.
Days.
The Bible talks about things, and that's great. But are you suggesting that Mamdani is satanic?
Yes, I am.
What is he doing that evinces or indicates Satanism?
Well, what is Satan? He's a liar and he's a murderer.
No. What is?
Okay.
And a lot of people are liars and murderers, but they're not Satan. So what is Mamdani doing that indicates Satanism? That's a very specific charge. What is he saying?
He's lying.
No, a lot of people lie.
Okay, so he's saying that he's going to give everything to the people for free.
But a lot of people who are not Satanists believe that. What is he doing?
So
Last time, sir? What is he doing that is satanic?
He's taking on Satan's characteristics.
Oh my God. Okay, there you go, my friends. Let me tell you something. Listen, this is a great country, and you can say anything you want, no matter how inane, insipid, or vacuous it is.
Lionel.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Good, sir.
I'm a retired law enforcement guy.
Excellent.
43 years ago, there was an 800 number set up for anybody who didn't speak English. We could call that number, and they would have every language you could think of to translate to these people, and we do it on speaker. We'd ask the question, they'd repeat it in their language, and blah, blah,
Wait a minute,
blah,
you're
blah.
saying as a police officer,
Yeah.
you would bring somebody over, maybe on a speakerphone, call this 800 number. You would ask somebody in Estonian or whatever to repeat your question to this. Okay, all right.
Yep. And that was 43 years ago they were doing this. And it was any language you could think of.
That's a good idea, don't you think?
Oh, I mean, it was a great idea. It was a great idea, but when you think about it, 43 years ago they were doing this.
Right, I understand that. So, but that's merely accommodating other languages. That's not giving the green light necessarily.
Oh,
to
no,
them.
I had no... It made my life so much easier.
Yeah, right.
I mean, when it was down, when it wasn't working, or no one was answering, I mean, we had some pretty funny conversations with, you know...
But I want you to ask this question for me, Jack. What do you think would happen to you and me in another country if we said, hey, I don't speak your language, so can you give me a phone number I can call? This cop's rousting me, and I want to, he doesn't understand me, and I think you should have an interpreter. Can you let me talk to somebody because of such and such? I mean, what?
I don't think that would happen.
Absolutely not. And here is the thing. I understand it would be probably, I think in many respects, it's good to, you should have the option. Look, if you have a restaurant and you cater to people, let's say you serve Greek, it might be a good idea to have somebody there who speaks Greek. You know what I mean? If you have Greek food, and that's
exactly.
one. No problem with that. That's good business. But there's another point where there has to be, I don't want to call it about, there has to be a kind of a penalty if you are involved in not being able to speak the language.
Well, let me ask you a question, being in the legal field, and I've only seen it once or twice in court.
Okay.
What do they do? How many interpreters do they have in the building?
Well,
say Manhattan Criminal Court. I mean, you have a ton load of, you know, different dialects and different ethnicities that, you know, speak so many different languages.
Well, it's not that they have them available, but normally if you are in a position where there is somebody who is, you normally, and by the way, it also goes for not just speaking, you know, a particular language, but in a sign language, American Sign Language for deaf mute, you know, things like that. It makes sense. But I understand. I think when it comes to certain things, it's a good idea to make sure, especially, by the way, if you as a police officer have as your main witness somebody from another country, and you've got to get the point across. Hey, listen, Jack, my friend, thank you for your service. I must run. Please call me again, sir.
You too. Take care, bud.
Thank you, sir. All the very best. Our number is 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. And I still want to, I love you to understand, when you tell me devil, Satan, God, I love that. Is there a Satanist in the house? Could I please seriously find out what exactly is the role of Satan? I want to clear this up once and for all. The devil, Satan, Beelzebub, the prince of darkness, the Lucifer, Mephistopheles. I'm trying to go through the rest of it. Diabolico, El Diablo. How in the name of God Can somebody with a straight face, and I say this with all due respect, actually say that what Mamdani is doing, because he is advocating what people have been advocating in a welfare society, welfare state, which is what he's talking about. Not socialism, not communism, not Marxism, but a welfare state. How can anybody in their right mind actually suggest that the reason that what he's doing is based on, believe it or not, Satanism? How can
Hail Satan!
By the way, I that was at a staff meeting, which is a whole other story, which I'd rather not get into. You know what? You guys do whatever you want. I am telling you right now, I cannot disprove Satan. I cannot disprove Sugar Plum Bumpkin. I can't. I don't even know what it is. It's an old Robert Klein routine, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm going to start talking about it. You know, I believe that Mamdani believes in Sugar Plum Pumpkin. There is something I've got to tell you that in my heart of hearts, whether God, I'm not going to argue God, I'm not going to argue any of this stuff, but the idea that there is this person called Satan, and that Satan wants to involve himself. First of all, he's so busy with so much crime, that predation of children, kidnapping, horrors. None of this being done by you, by the way. See, you don't want to do this. You're being told to do this, or you're being inspired. See, this is the part that I don't understand. Man is evil. When you say somebody is good, chances are they're just not bad. There are very few people who are good, meaning that they go out of their way to spread good, that they live a good life, a Christian life, a pure life, a clean life, a good life. They're just not bad. They really don't do anything. Oh, they'll lie, they'll prevaricate, they'll be deliberately obtuse. I understand that, but I just don't think people this default are that great. They're just, sometimes, you know, we have nice people, but I don't know all this goodness. Everybody's so good. Some people are good. Some people are great. Some are beneficent. Some are charitable. Some are philanthropic. A lot of them are not enough. And then there are some people, a small minority, who are bad, really, really bad. And I don't think they're bad because the devil told them to do it. And I don't think I like when people say, well, the reason why they believe in a God is because they said if there wasn't a belief in God, what would keep you from killing people? Say, excuse me? You think I want to kill people? Do you think I want to what? I want to kill people? No. And I love we get into this world. We believe in this, it's not humans. It's Satan. It's not Mamdani. It's not this democratic socialist drivel, which is not based. There are some people who I know you're not going to believe this, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy. But there are people who actually think it's a good thing. They actually think it's a good thing. I swear to God, they think it's a good thing. They think giving free stuff out is good. They're crazy. They believe that free stores and free bus rides and free transportation and no police, we want restorative justice. They, honest to God, think, some do, that this will make the world better. They think that they are doing the right thing. They're not, wringing their hands in delight, knowing, I'm spreading Satan's word. No, it doesn't work like that. I know you might think that, but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, have you ever known a Satanist? Tell me your connection with Luciferian something. I am dying. I know there's Anton LaVey, and I know there are, I was fascinated by the notion of exorcisms. And I used to ask sometimes, because I was in we heard about it sometimes. I don't know who really does this, but I said, do you find it interesting that there is that sometimes the actual manifestations of Lucifer or whatever it is happens to mimic, almost to the point of identical mimicry, that of schizophrenia. Isn't that interesting? In fact, one of the conditions of the actual legitimately, and there have been cases where the church has said this is indeed a possessed child, or it's always a child. It's always somebody who can do the least amount of harm. You know what I mean? I've never understood this. Like, if God forbid you said, okay, what if we were to say, all right, there's an exorcist kid. Anybody else? No. Okay. What happens to the child if not exorcised? Do they turn into the devil? Do they get better? Do they get tired? Do they say, the hell with it? I don't know. And every time I try to ask a question, they say, there you go again. Asking questions. There you go again. Asking questions. Asking questions and wondering about how dare you ask these questions? And I'm thinking to myself, here we are in the year of 2025, and somebody, a good man called up, and he believes that Mamdani is not just some fallen democratic socialist, but that he is actually somebody who is a part of a satanic coven or cadre or convocation or cabal. I'm being alliterative here. I think to myself, 2025. Now, they said one time, believe it or not, that whenever you meet the devil speaks in proverbs. The devil will always speak proverbially. And the sure sign of a Luciferian demon is somebody who spouts proverbs. And the worst of the worst is somebody who fancies themselves as either a folklorist or a collector of proverbs. Somebody who seems to enjoy this quaint type of this mien, this affect, this role of, I'm just almost a quasi-academic who spends my day collecting these things, when in fact, deep down inside, not only are they Luciferian prevaricators, they are indeed the front line in obfuscation and the complete and total sordid putrescence of the human spirit. And I give you Robert. Robert, good evening.
Good morning. No proverbs today.
Okay, thank you.
No, none. I couldn't think of any. By the way,
there is a God.
As a folklorist, and a historian, I taught history for 40 years to high school students and to college students. Mm-hmm. I never had the joy of doing it to elementary. I'm not sure I'd want to. But I enjoyed what I did because I enjoyed teaching about oral traditions and oral cultures.
Oral versus... Anyway, so would you call yourself an historian or a historian?
A historian.
I believe it's an, but that's okay.
Well, you get A and I don't know. Well, anyway, I don't know.
You,
By
the
way,
punctilious, priggish one. Who cares? Whatever.
I do not myself believe in Satan, the devil, El Sombreron, Old Nick, Old Scratch, whatever you want to call him, in a million languages. I do not. However, being an honest folklorist, as I have been for 50 plus years, I do not mock those who may believe in such.
Oh, nor do I.
I accept it as part of their tradition. I accept it because I have talked to people who some might call evangelistic, some might call religious, who really do believe in things like the mark of Cain. You know about the mark of Cain.
Let me ask you, stop for a second. This is great, but let me ask you something. When I don't mock someone who believes something, okay? If you believe something, that's fine. I don't walk up and say, hey, are you that guy, Robert? Yeah. The one who believes in devil? Ha, 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 ha. I don't do that. If, however, you suggest that the reason for something going on in, let's say, current politics or whatever it is because of Beelzebub or because of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or whatever, am I supposed to sit there and say, I see, I understand? Or can I say, that is the most ridiculous idea to explain this, not your individual belief? For example, if I said to you, the reason why Mamdani is doing so well is because Jesus wants it that way. Now, if you mock that idea, you're not mocking Jesus. You're mocking my suggestion that Jesus is behind this. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. So if somebody suggests that Mamdani is actually some disciple of Satan, I think that's absurd. Not that people who believe in Satan are absurd. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely makes sense.
Good.
And I would also say this: how do I put this at 4:00 in the morning? Because I actually kind of woke up, so I have to put my collective.
I've been up since 10 o'clock. So don't give me with this belly aching about how you had to wake up to come up with this idea that you've threaded together. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes. Anyway, I once spent some time with some Cajun folks down in Louisiana, and they're fun to be with.
Yes, they are.
They party.
Yes.
Those Fado Dos they have on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them what they did for a living, and they said they trapped alligators.
Uh-huh.
In little boats called pirogues.
Yep.
If you've ever been down there. They're fun to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me, would I like to come along and join them in their fun trapping? And I thought for a few seconds, and I said, let's not, and say we did.
Yes. And the point of this is
that there are people who engage in interesting activities.
Yes, there are. And you would never know it listening to you, sir. Just kidding. Just kidding. By the way, a great one for Piero on the Bayou. Stephen Stills, Old Times, Good Times. Stephen Stills' first album with Jimi Hendrix playing lead. This is Lionel, and this is the other side of midnight. So when you ask me, do you believe in something? It's like if I say no, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I don't understand it. You know, in Judaism, they don't see Satan as some independent evil power. It's more like remember the heavenly prosecutor? Evil is understood as part of human nature, not as the influence of a demonic figure. This is in traditional Judaism. In Buddhism, they teach that suffering comes from desire and ignorance and attachment, not from an external evil being. In Hinduism, they recognize gods and demons, but they're part of the same divine cosmic order, if that makes any sense. Both have roles to play, but there's no singular devil opposing God. This is the Hinduism. In Taoism, they teach harmony between opposites, yin and yang. Evil is imbalance, not rebellion against God. In Confucianism, they focus on ethics. By the way, that's a really, you would say, cool religion. They focus on ethics and social harmony, moral discipline, not this cosmic dualism. Certain indigenous and tribal religions, they don't believe in a Satan figure. Secular humanism, Unitarian, they don't believe in that. Sikhism teaches that evil comes from ego and the five vices. The Satan or the devil doesn't exist. And the Baha'i faith, by the way, the Baha'i faith you must see in Haifa, their temple it's beautiful. Anyway, the Baha'i faith views Satan as a metaphor for the lower nature of humanity. And Jainism denies the existence of any creator or ruler, good or evil. So you have all of these people seemingly unafraid to carve out and to observe and embrace and accept every one of the most intricate subspecies of faith and metaphysical, but they don't have there's no Satan there. Now I remember, don't blame me, but I would suggest before we go to Satanism, before we go to Satan, the devil, let's look at Mamdani and don't give him that much credit. He has been saying something they've been saying forever. This is just welfare state gibberish. It's complete and total. Boy, look at this trifecta here. Look at the hat trick right here. Look at this. 3 for 3, my friend. 3 for 3. Lined up. It's a rogues gallery. It's like, wow. You've hit pay dirt. Here's the barrel. Let's scrape it. Let's scrape it some more. Now, you're probably wondering, what is he talking about? Better that you not know. Better that you not know. See, it's so funny. You leave a couple of weeks, come back, forgets everything. Isn't that something? Yeah. Yeah, this is it. This is the jackpot. We hit pay dirt with this one. Got the 3 cherries in a row. 3 whiz bangs. Yeah. This should be I should come up with some kind of an allegory that in my ether, there are the 3 heads of the stag, Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos, who are the 3 fates, by the way. 1, the insipid spirit blaster, the man who drains the excitement of the room, followed by someone who always refers to fallen musical stars of the past with no relevance whatsoever. And then finally, there's another one. I forget who it was. Yes, the hanger-on, the proverbial floating Tootsie Roll in the punch bowl of life. Human sewer. 3, the trifecta, the troika, the triad, the triumvirate of terror. Those who can single-handedly destroy a talk show by their very being. Those anointed and imbued with a sense of entitlement, some weird form of adverse possession, some right to come in, to wallow into the room, knocking over furniture and saying, here I am, as they plop down and fill the room with their bile, their avarice, their complete and total virulent irrelevance. Yes, I say, for thou art the devil. Beware of those who leave and come back to the fold, those who, quote, fill in, those who are here to fill in. Yes, they fill in much less like a virus fills in the RNA sequencing, destroying the health of an organism. Beware of those who fill in. 30 past the hour. Okay.
Lord have mercy.
I swear to you. I have told you this so many times. I have told you this. And I know we're not supposed to do this, but I've always wanted to say, okay, look. I guess if I'm going to join your Satan thing, okay, fine. All right. But listen, can we Can we possess somebody who's really important? Like, can we get like Erdogan? Maybe they're already possessed. I don't know. But why do we have to go to some poor girl in a village in Central America? Why do we have to do this? Why do we do this? What is the purpose of this? And by the way, don't you think that somebody somewhere would say to the big S, the big Satan guy, listen, we're going to do the possessions, okay? But we're not going to call attention to it. This is a man who has fallen powers, right? Oh, yeah, no, he has fallen, but he has all the powers. Why does he go in and basically call attention to himself by screaming and yelling and cursing, spitting pea soup at you with head spinning why? You want to have this particular Satan. You know, if I didn't know better, I think that guy was possessed. Nah, seems like that okay to me. Does he curse? No, as a matter of fact, he's kind of under the radar. Aha. 800-848-9222. I was showing Noam in this case. This woman who was stabbed 20 times in the neck. By the way, you must look at this poor girl. Her name is Ellen Greenberg. Check out TMZ and also the Philadelphia Inquirer. You cannot believe this story. And also, did you know, believe it or not, listen to this one. For those of you who might be interested, I hope you heard the story before about the woman who allegedly stabbed herself in the neck 20 times. Did you know that Governor Josh Shapiro's actions while Pennsylvania Attorney General stirred up outrage among a dead woman's family and may have derailed his vice presidential candidacy? CBS News, and by the way, this is from TMZ, in August of last year, reported several of Shapiro's actions while serving as PAAG, that's Pennsylvania Attorney General. They're receiving renewed attention, including the death investigation of Ellen Greenberg, this Philadelphia teacher, stabbed 20 times, 10 times in the back. While first ruled a homicide, local police scoffed at the conclusion, arguing it couldn't be murder because the door was locked from the inside. And her fiancé, who said he broke down the door to find her, had no defensive wounds. The medical examiner ultimately changed his determination and called it a suicide. And a lot of folks were outraged. I told you this. Please go and look at this. I'm going to talk about this again. This really bothers me. How could someone commit suicide by stabbing themselves repeatedly in the back and the head? Flash forward to 2022. Shapiro, then Pennsylvania's Attorney General, and his office reviewed the case and doubled down on the suicide determination. But there were unverified rumblings that Shapiro had a conflict of interest, a relationship with Greenberg's fiance's family, so the case was referred back to the Philadelphia DA. Now, some are pointing to Shapiro's handling of the case as a reason why he was passed over for the vice president candidate, instead going to tampon Timmy Walls. And there you have it. Very, very, very frightening. Our number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Is there any of you, by the way, who have listened to me regarding this? I know this is a tough race regarding Mr. Mamdani and Messrs. Sliwa and Cuomo. But is there anybody who was saying right now, you know what? I'm going to change my vote. And I'm sorry, Curtis, but I'm voting for Cuomo because I think, sad to say, he's the only one who can win. Does that make sense to anyone? I would love to hear that and hear why. It's very tough. John in Buffalo. John, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, how's it going, bud?
Excellent, sir.
Well, here's the thing. You read the Bible at all?
No.
I didn't think so.
I mean, you mean the New Testament?
Well, New Testament, Old Testament, regardless.
Well, Judaism doesn't believe in the Satan, and they believe in the Old Testament. I mean, a lot of faiths there's no Satan at all.
Here's the thing about Satan, okay?
Oh, tell me about this.
It's stated in the Bible quite a few times if you've read the Bible, you'd know this. The greatest trick that Satan's pulled on humanity
is proving that he doesn't exist.
Exactly.
You got to get some new material. But by the way, let me ask you a question, John.
New material? This isn't a comedy skit, dude.
John,
you can take religion and put it in the realm of...
John, stop. Do you know how many people have said that line about the devil, and they think it's like they invented it? Okay, that's all I'm saying. But I want to ask you this question.
But for people like you, you wind up in the realm of the condemned. So
wait a minute, what?
In the realm of the condemned.
What is that?
Plain and simple.
What is that?
Well, figure it out, buddy.
No, tell me. You're the expert. Tell me. The realm of the condemned. By the way, do me a favor. Please send this to sales. I would have changed this. I like the other side of midnight is good. The realm of the condemned. I'm writing this down. And we have to give you two. I know your name. I know you're Benedict. The realm. This is good. Of the condemned.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Thank you so much. That's Mercedes McCambridge. Wow. And I love people who say, if you don't read the Bible, but what if you're a Hindu? What if and I went through these other wonderful people. You're Hindu, you're a Sikh, you're an Orthodox Jew. You don't really think about Satan. What about that? You're wrong. See, that's what I love. You're wrong. The realm of the condemned. Call Libertini. I want a promo on this. I want this. This is the realm of the condemned.
You would have known this if you read the Bible, dude.
But this is, and figure it out, buddy. And there's nothing better than somebody who says, let me tell you something, a clock's wrong twice a day. Huh? What if it's a digital clock? What? What if it says like 0100? It's only one time a day. I'm not talking about the digital clock.
Army time. What about Army time?
Right.
Huh? Tough guy? Huh? Smart guy? Huh? Figure it out.
This is amazing. By the way, here we go. This is a man who, if anybody would know it, it's our friend. He is the Rachmaninoff of Rockland County. The Panjandrum, the Parvenu of the Eastern sect. You know him, you love him, Father Bob.
Good morning.
Oh, this is another Father Bob. Whoa, we have a two Father Bob. I'm sorry, I take that back. Welcome, sir.
The other one's Father Joseph.
Father Joseph, Father Bob, what the hell's the difference? Talk to me, Father Bob. What type of father are you, sir?
I am a Roman Catholic.
Excellent. Are you a Jesuit or the other type?
I'm the other type. I'm
okay, well, ad maiorem Dei gloriam to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. Quousque tandem abutere Catalina Patia de Nostra, Pater Noster quis in Caelis, sanctificator nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas et in terra, panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie. Anyway, proceed, sir.
Well, first of all, I guess you were trained by Jesuits.
Yes. That's why we think. I'm sorry, sir. Proceed, sir.
That's wonderful. So I'm not an exorcist. Actually, I don't do exorcisms, but I know somewhat about them, obviously. And I lived with an exorcist for 2 years.
Wow.
So yeah, I did.
By the way, not to be corny, is that a full-time job? Do you get a lot of calls as an exorcist, or is that kind of like a hit or miss?
Well, I'm not an exorcist, but yeah.
But if you're with a roommate or you live with one, was your roommate always being called, and
he would receive certain calls.
Okay.
And exorcists deal with not only just demons; they also deal with ghosts and. So what it is?
Wait a minute! Hold it! Ghosts?
Yes.
I like this. I never heard that in my life.
Oh yeah.
And even though I'm in the realm of the condemned. But
oh, that's the fanciest way I've ever heard anyone to say you're going to hell. That's
the realm. How about the vicinity of the fallen? No, the realm of the condemned. Anyway, proceed, sir. I'm sorry.
So anyway, do I believe in the devil? Yes, but do I get really irritated with these people who focus on the devil and teach people to focus on the devil. They're all over YouTube. I speak about this all the time. Stay away from these people. Because you just look at it this way. This guy brings up that Mondami is possessed and all this other stuff, or the devil. Now your show is legitimately asking questions, and where your focus is, the devil. And that's exactly what we're called not to do as far as, the devil, I believe in him. He's out there, but, just don't worry about him. Focus on where Christ is leading.
Let me ask you this question as somebody who, by the way, has great respect for Catholic priests and nuns especially, all due respect, and is a retired Catholic, basically. But still, I remember the rules, so to speak. Do you believe that there is a central, kind of like the central bank, the Basel, Switzerland of evil, that there's one but one iteration where it all stems from? And more importantly, if I could somehow, Father, ablate, remove, excise that devil, would evil disappear?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because people still, as you said, really a lot of evil comes from people making bad choices. And it's not the devil turning around and saying, you will do this. I think possessions are extremely rare. I've never seen one. But people who are not possessed do evil every day.
And also, if a person, some people, it's like the difference between psychopathy and sociopathy. A psychopath is somebody who is almost born without the ability to appreciate certain things. And one could argue that their particular evil is the product of this pathology. But more importantly, give me an example. If I said, Father Bob, and by the way, I thank you for this. You have no idea, because I'm fascinated by all religions. And the problem is, whenever you ask a question, some people mistake it for challenging you, whereas I really want to know. You've got to be able to explain what you're doing without being upset. But give me an example. Do you think the best example of the existence of the devil and something that you see, a behavior or a result that smacks of his or its realm of decadence, or whatever you want to call it?
Wow, that's a heavy question, I guess. I would say anyone who really chooses to be obstinately hateful against everything. But like I said, I've never seen a possession. I've never.
Okay, that's okay. I've never seen a miracle, but that doesn't mean miracles don't exist. It's just because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen an electron either. So doesn't matter. But aside from that, see, here's the thing. Let's take somebody who is evil. Let's say Hitler or anybody, Ted Bundy or somebody. And what if they told you? Well, not Bundy, but let's say somebody in the political realm who is a Pol Pot, somebody who was involved in genocide. If they told you, I'm not evil, you don't understand, Father. This is politics. This is brutal. This is war. And I don't do this because I like to do this. I do this because I have to do it. The person who dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima, I'm sure vis-a-vis the recipients of that, probably looked up and said, whoever did this is evil. Whereas I think Tibbets, whatever, the pilot, who named it after his mother or something, probably is a nice man. We lauded him as a hero. So I just, tell me somebody who says, I don't have to be evil, but I'm using the Father Bob methodology or the formula. I'm out here exhibiting evil for no particular reason, then I elect to do it. I've got nothing better to do. I'm just going to be evil. I affirmatively elect to do it. I want to meet somebody who actually does that. That's got to be that's just depraved. Where you I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, St. Augustine says evil is the privation of the good. So what I like to explain it to you, is the fact that evil is where good is not. It's kind of like darkness. There is no such thing as darkness. It's the absence of light. So it would be someone who would have no intention of any kind of good, because evil by default is the absence of good.
Okay, what if somebody were to say, all right, Father, I have no intention of good, but I don't have any intention of bad. I'm not going to hurt anybody, but there is if you're looking for good, you got the wrong guy with me. So I like when you say good or evil is the absence of good. To me, the absence of good is, It's like, okay, to me, evil, it has to be something affirmative. You just cannot, it's almost like negligence. Like there's no, like if I take something and I have an eraser and there's good and I erase it and I'm down to the last and the good is gone, that's not evil. That's just not good. To me, it's something different. Do you think maybe we just sort of, and this is maybe we focus a little bit too much on that. I know you can't say this, but Father, have you ever thought to yourself, I wish we could kind of revamp a couple of things, maybe in the catechism or something. I don't know if they necessarily meant this. And
all the time, and all the time. And if there was one phrase in the Bible that I would remove because it causes so much problems, is the concept of blasphemy of the Spirit, Holy Spirit, because people don't understand what it means.
What is it?
And it causes huge problems.
What is the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit? What is that?
Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is just reject it. People think it's saying bad things about the Holy Spirit. But it's just rejecting God's mercy. You're just refusing, having nothing to do. I want nothing to do with God's mercy. If God offered it to me, I'd tell him to go away.
See, that's interesting, because I would have thought, for example, that if you were to reject, well, that would say, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard anything about the Holy Spirit. I could never dig. It's almost like the id, ego, super ego, like the troika, the triad, the triumvirate, the holy three, the big, the three. Father, God, Son, Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit. This is one for you, because you sound like a young, and I'm probably older than you. I remember when I was
60,
a kid.
I'm 2 weeks older than you.
You know what it shows? It shows. Now, are you a parish priest? Are you a?
Yes.
That's
well, I was. Now I'm a hospital chaplain.
Oh, that's something. What is your, when you show up, do people say, no, what are you doing here? They didn't tell me it was this bad. No, I'm just here to say hi.
Yes, I'm just doing, yes, exactly. Some guy said to me one time, I walked in, to do my routine visits, and he said, oh, does this mean the hearse is coming? I go, no.
Listen to this one. I got to tell you a story as an aside. A friend of mine's wife was into music therapy. And she was really known for some pretty bad stuff. Now, I don't know about you, but if I got 6 weeks to live, I don't want to have Here We Are One in the Spirit on a bad acoustic guitar. But anyway, so she one time and everybody knew this is what she did. She was like, it's like when she shows up with a guitar, that's it. The fat lady has already sung. This is the fat lady's replacement. So anyway, they said, hey, guess who's here? Uncle Joe. Really? So she walks up and knocks on the door. Uncle Joe? And he looks at her and he says, oh my God. And she says, do you know what it's like? Everywhere I go, I'm the Grim Reaper. Anyway, I think what you do at the parish level, and by the way, you don't have to say where you are, but you sound like really aces. I think what you need to do is, it's like you give people a spiritual massage. You're a spiritual chiropractor. You work out kinks. You work out problems. It's like, let me just kind of reassess. We're not we're not going to reset the world, but let me help you out a little bit here. Let me focus.
Yeah,
that's what
very
you
well
do.
put.
That's what
I love that.
And I'd love to I would love to do a confession. You have no idea. I know that wouldn't be right. But I would love to start off with, but you know, my thing would be, you think that's bad? Let me tell you what I did one time. And that would be terrible. They would run out in disgust. Anyway.
No, they probably feel good.
What are you doing up at almost 4 o'clock in the morning? What are you doing?
I have a tendency to wake up by default around 4 o'clock.
See, that's a sign our neurotransmitters are old. That's like we're into the aged realm. we're into this. Remember when you were a kid and you were sleeping late all the time? You're sleeping alone, all these old people. Yes. And then I guess melatonin levels drop or something. Because now I'm a vampire. I've turned into this vampire. Anyway, Father.
And I'm one of your regular listeners too.
Well, I appreciate this. Final words. Give us a blessing. Give us something to take away, sir. Please, if you don't mind.
I'll give you a blessing if you want. Sure.
Do it.
May Almighty God bless you, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
You know what? Not exactly the most novel.
No. Well, that's what you have.
But it does. But it does the trick. I think I've heard that one before.
I could have done it in 2 other languages.
Oh,
Not Latin, no.
Well, I would have done. I mean, listen, there's got to be I have had this. I like sometimes, the blessing to me is a beautiful thing. Father, thank you so much, and I wish you the best. And please call me again, sir.
Will do.
Thank you so
very
much. Thank you, and welcome back to the realm of the condemned. There have been so many. There's so many jokes. Remember the punchline? You're going to hate Wednesdays. Remember that one? Another one too was everybody down on your knees. I remember, like I said to you, I know people as you, and I've learned this a long time ago. They always say, don't ever talk about politics or religion. What else is there to talk about? What else is there to talk about? And I would love to talk about, I don't know a lot of other people, but I'd like to say, how come you got to wear the hat? How come you got to do this? What's the problem? What does this mean? And also, I also like that I will tell you this right now, for those of you who think I'm completely, totally a member of the realm of the condemned, I firmly believe that all kids should have the structure of a faith, the structure, the outline, the format of a faith. And then later on, whatever the kid wants to do, can do it. But you can't start off with a kid with well, it's hard to say whether there's a God. It's a God. No, you got to give him structure. I would not change one thing about my life. I never had anybody in Catholic school in particular, anybody ever lay a hand on me. Priests, nuns, Jesuits, never. It was nothing but, it was the best education, the best everything. I'm telling you. And those stupid institutional, those uniforms we wear, it was like, this is the worst uniform. This isn't even a uniform. There are people in prison whose prison clothes are more stylish than this. Now I look back and I'm saying, you know what? That was important. That's why whenever I see these charter schools and kids, in the neighborhood, they're walking around, with their uniforms on. I think this is the best thing for them. All this stuff that I thought, this is the most ridiculous. But the nuns were great. The priests were great. I've got absolutely not one thing bad. Nothing to say. I'm not lapsed, fallen, any of that stuff. Nothing. And I don't really know sometimes, when, how do you say this? To reject something versus not to. For example, there's a lot of things I don't do. I don't reject it. I just don't follow them. A lot of musical groups. I just don't follow them. I don't own anything by the Beatles. I don't reject them. They're okay. Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't really matter. In any event, I love religion. I love talking about God. I love spirit. I love the hereafter. I love all of that stuff. It's the most fascinating thing in the world. But some people feel, unless you were completely obeisant and you open your mind and say, yes, I accept it. Don't ask any questions. Don't ask any questions. Well, how are you going to teach me about this? I'm not teaching you. I'm telling you. I'm instructing you. I'm going to get instructions. Questions? No questions. No. I don't go like that. I think it makes sense. Well, let me just say goodbye to our dear friend. Yeah, he was here tonight. Old Elias was in. He decided to grace the portals of our show tonight. And he came in doing the best he can. He's going to, of course, abandon ship again. Back to the big money and other. I understand. And Blaze, it's you and me, kiddo. That's it. Holding down the fort. Doing whatever the hell it is that we do. As a part of the realm of the condemned. This is Lionel with you, reminding you the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.